Hello and welcome to FlowTrack's coverage of the 2019 Ascension Seton Austin Marathon here from the beautiful capital of Texas, just about 30 minutes away. My name is Lincoln Shrike, joined once again for the third consecutive year by my partners here, Tony Revis and Mr. Paras Shah. Guys, how are we feeling this morning?
Very good. Perfect day for running.
It is nice weather. Paras, how are you doing today?
Yeah, doing good. It's we're going to have some awesome coverage here. We have an awesome sideline reporter in Drew Butler and Liz Oberg. She's going to be down giving us some on-course personality coverage today. And so between Liz, Drew, and us three, we'll be covering the race today.
Plenty of storylines on the men's and women's sides of both the half and the full marathon. Some Olympic trials qualifiers will certainly go down on the men's side. We have a defending champion coming back. Some NCAA champions running in the half, getting their feet wet on the roads for the first time. It's a great fields all around and plenty of storylines to get through as we go through the day. And it's not just the elites that we'll be talking about, of course. So much of this race is just a coming together of the Austin community as this race continues to grow and put on by the High Five Events Company. This event, you just see it flourish each and every year, and it continues to galvanize the community here in Austin. But you guys said it, the weather should be good. I know a couple years ago, pretty humid. The weather, you never know what you're going to get in Austin this time of year. You know, it's not going to be cold, but you could get temperatures upwards into the 70s with some humidity. But I think the weather today will cooperate.
Well, 2 days ago it was 86 degrees, 86 degrees, and then yesterday it was 50 degrees, and we were chilled. This morning was around in the low 50s, so it looks like it's an ideal day for people to do their business. So hopefully they'll be able to perform on the streets of Austin.
And most importantly, there's no wind this morning, right? So you got nice chilly temperatures, no wind, and a really good second half of the course that should allow for some really fast running.
Yeah, the course it's not an easy one. It'll fluctuate and be up and downhill throughout the majority of it. It'll start on a stark uphill, and we'll be bringing you coverage of both all four races, the men's and women's full marathons, and then the half marathons. We'll obviously see a lot of the half athletes at the beginning before they split off. Around about the 9 mile mark?
About the 6 mile mark.
6 mile mark. My apologies there.
The 9 mile mark is when the courses will deviate.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah.
So, but I did want to highlight at the start, Joey Whalen, the guy who is coming back to defend his title here. He's qualified for the trials in the marathon. He's run 2:16. What do we think about his chances today?
Well, Para's just showing me one of his last workouts, and on the course, that's one of the best things about, of course, living in the area is you have an opportunity to actually run on the course, and so not make it a new day come race day. And, boy, if that workout works its way out today, that guy's going to be tough to beat.
Yep, and between him and he has a veteran field of marathoners that are also going to be chasing him. Patrick Rizzo is a 2:13 guy. Yeah. He's a 4-time Olympic trials qualifier. Recently ran 2:17 at CIM. He's going to be a contender in this race today. So we got to look for Patrick Rizzo up there near the front. He's going to be intelligent about how he's run. Tony has personally seen Patrick Rizzo run
many times. Right, exactly. And he's motivated again. I mean, that's the thing. You go through those peaks, just like marathons go through peaks and valleys. Yeah. Athletes go through peaks and valleys in their career as well, and Patrick's on the rise right now, so he's very anxious to be here. He's been like the spotlight athlete here in Austin. He's been writing some articles for the race, etc. So I think he has that the top dog sort of mantle on his shoulders, and I think he wants to validate that in the race today.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's the men's coverage. We can talk about maybe the women's field a little bit, Lincoln.
Yeah, absolutely. Two ladies sub 240 that you kind of figure will be the primary athletes to watch. No Allison Max S, the two-time or the winner of the last 2 years, but we do have Heather Lyberg, who has a 2:34 PR just from about 5 years ago, and Anita Perez has run 2:39. You see the differences there, and you think, well, it's got to be Heather. But these ladies ran similar times at Grandma's just a few months ago, about 6 months ago, and they're about the same age. So we figure Heather and Anita are probably going to go at it today. Yeah,
absolutely. And so Anita is from San Antonio. She's from about an hour and a half away. There was a very, very good interview done by her in a local blog called Glass Staircase. And so she's a mother and wakes up at 3 a.m. and has a couple kids. And so very, very good story. And we're going to send it down to Drew right now, who's got a good storyline for us.
All right, I'm here with Rory Tunningley, Will Nation, and and Brian Morton. We're going to be talking about what these guys are doing in the race today. Guys, you're all three elite marathoners in your own respect, but you've got a little bit of a different task today. Rory, tell us a little bit about what you're going to do and what you hope to accomplish.
So the goal today is to help tow the elite women along in this race to the Olympic Marathon Trials qualifying standard, which is 2:45 flat. Our goal is just to make that pace as easy and as manageable for them as possible, and hopefully give them a smooth ride to the finish.
Awesome. I know when we talked yesterday, Will, you guys hadn't had a chance to speak with any of the women yet. Have you had a chance to talk strategy, or is it ultimately going to be something that plays out during the race?
Yeah, so we haven't really seen any of the elite women yet. I think we're just gonna play it out during the race. I think we're just gonna try to run as even as possible. Maybe slow down a little bit on the uphills, and then try to bring it back down on the downhills, and try to keep it on pace as much as we can.
Awesome. So you guys are all three big parts of the local Austin running community. Some natives, some got here as fast as you could. Brian, tell us a little bit about what it would mean today to secure some Olympic trials qualifiers with some of your hard work you're doing today out there.
Yeah, I would say for all three of us, this community is just so grateful to us and give us so much throughout the year. So this is our one chance throughout the season to give back to the community and then help others. So for me, and I would probably say the same for Rory and Will, this is fantastic to be able to help out some women to achieve some really audacious goals.
All right, you've got it. We're going to try and bring these guys to an Olympic trials qualifier today. So look out for these guys on the course, and hopefully we'll see you guys in 2 hours and 44 minutes with some trials qualifiers. Thanks so much, guys.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. That was Drew Butler down on the course with Will Nation, Rory Tunningly, and Brian Morton. Those three guys pacing a 2:45 group. Some ladies hoping to get the B standard for the Olympic trials coming up in the early parts of 2020. So their job will be awfully important today, and 2:45, even for accomplished runners like those guys, not easy. And it'll be entertaining to watch how the ladies either follow or surpass them, because 2:45, I mean, we've had some women run faster than that. So we'll see. It'll be quite interesting to see how those guys handle that today.
Yeah, and it's a pretty cool storyline. You got three guys that are totally selfless and have just decided to do this on their own and really help women achieve their dreams. And the big thing, right, the big mark on the calendar is February 2020 Olympic Trials in Atlanta down there with Rich Keena and the Atlantic Track Club. And,
right.
And so all these women, so many women around the country are gunning for the standard, and to see three guys in Austin really go after it and help women achieve their dreams is actually very, very cool.
Yeah, we can talk about in terms of this being a challenging course, but the Atlanta course, the trials course, is going to be challenging as well. Yeah. And there's any number of athletes who have actually come here to Austin specifically for the nature of this course, which is going to lead them very well. From a timing standpoint, it's a February race, so's the trials. It's a challenging course, so are the trials.
Yeah.
If you do well here today, you can have big confidence when you go to Atlanta in 2020.
No, that's absolutely a great point. And this course will challenge you at the beginning, it'll challenge you in the middle, and it definitely will challenge you at the very end in that last kind of 200 with that steep hill. I guess it's about the last 800 or so, but you get a strong 200-meter hill at the end. So quite the difficult trek here will be made today in Austin. I wanted to get to quickly before we do toss it back onto the course, the half marathon athletes, because we will see these athletes more than likely at the beginning before they split off, as we talked about. A guy I'm familiar with, James Ngandu, former Division II champion, now running professionally. This guy was top 10 at Houston. I mean, that's no joke. He had to run 61:51 to get there. We haven't spoken to him, but we know he's fit. What do you guys think about his chances today?
Well, this is a what have you done for me lately type sport. I mean, that's just the nature of distance running. And so if this guy is within the last month has run 61 and change, he's just going to – the question is, how far does he want to let out the string by himself? Yeah. I mean, in Houston, you're running 61 minutes and you're getting – there's all kinds of folks around. It's one thing to run fast from behind. It's another thing to get out there where there's nothing but open road in front of you, and not everyone is geared to that. I'm sure as a professional athlete, he's not afraid. But you don't see 61 minutes here. But how far out on that limb does he want to go to see how fast he can run on today, taking the chance? Looks like the race is his to win or to lose, depending on how he attacks it.
And there is a very good field that is going to follow him along. And so Ryan Miller talked yesterday briefly on camera. We had a good long conversation with him. He's not from far. He's about 45 minutes away from Austin, and he ran at Texas A&M. He's run 2:14 at CIM this year. And one of the things about Ryan is he said 4:40 pace may be a little hot for the first mile, but 4:50 pace, if James goes out in 4:50 pace, Ryan said he will be right there with him. And so we talked to him, and he, a 2:14 marathoner, yes, it's different than running a 61-minute half, but you're kind of in the same ballpark there. And so we could see Ryan Miller hang in there for a very, very long time today if the pace goes out in 4:50 pace, 5 flat, 5:05 for these first 3-4 miles that are net uphill.
And one thing I guess I would point out with Ngandu is he ran that 61-minute half, but not super experienced on the roads. He is coming off of a recent into his college career at Tiffin, where he has some very impressive track marks, and he won the cross-country title in Division II, but still getting his feet wet over the half marathon. And then quickly on the women's half, a name that was prominent last year in that wild and wet and crazy women's Boston Marathon, Kimmy Reed of Springfield, Missouri, 7th in Boston last year.
Yeah, but what's that mean? I mean, I was there broadcasting for the local television station, and I mean, we were just laughing so hard.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane. The wind was so high. The rain was so driven. You learned nothing. I mean, Des Linden was going to be a contender in that race regardless of the weather.
Absolutely.
But Yuki Kawauchi needed that weather to win the men's race because Geoffrey Karui made a big move early. As it turned out, it was too early, and he smacked dab into that wall in that last mile, and he faded. He lost by 4 minutes and didn't get past until the last mile.
Yeah.
So you talk about dying the sorry death. Yuki did it. It was like in 122 years history of the Boston Marathon, that was one of the 2 or 3 worst days that they've ever had.
No doubt about it. But Reed, a solid runner on her own, even without the benefit of the conditions. Half not exactly her distance. She's more of a full type athlete, run 2:38, but 74 minutes. But she's got some good competition today.
Yeah, Sarah Pease is coming down from Indiana, and she's recently married to Carl Stones, who was a longtime Austin runner, ran for Rogue, and so did she. That's where they met, and she's a volunteer coach at Indiana, coached by Ron Helmer, her old college coach. She's an Olympic trials finalist in the steeplechase. She's run 73 minutes for a half at Philly, and Sarah's very, very tough, and she's a steeplechaser, right?
Plus, she really feels at home coming back to Austin. She was really making that point in our conversation with her that she's really happy to be back here. So she's got a lot going for her. I mean, that 73:39 was run at the in Philadelphia just last September, so she's got good vibes. The only problem is she's saying we were saying how chilly it was yesterday at 50 degrees. She says, "Hey, come to Indiana."
Yeah.
50. And we were basking in the beach if we had a beach there. But so the weather's perfect for her as well.
And then we got Jane Breckes, who is also a very, very accomplished runner. And so look for Jane to really mix it up in there as well. And so I think, between Jane and Sarah and if Caroline Rotich, who is actually entered on the sheet, if she shows up, we haven't heard one way or another, but if she shows up, she's the class of this field. She's run 70 minutes and change for a half. Tony has seen her run, and
she's the 2015 Boston Marathon champion. Also been in the top 5 there before. Trains down in New Mexico. Has lived there for years and years and years, and she's running Boston in April. So it would not surprise me that she would come to a Texas event for a half marathon tune-up race. So, it'll be obvious if she's out there because she'll be that one lone figure all by herself based on her talent.
Yep. And so really, really looking forward to these set of races. I think also if you circle back to the men's half, Julian Flores, who we talked to, who's got a great life story. We'll kind of hone in on that. And some of the other things that we got going on in this race, right? Some from the human interest side of things. Lance Armstrong, he's this year's 2019 Ascension Seton's Austin Marathon Charity Chaser. So the Charity Chaser program was brought back a number of years ago, and when High Five Events took over this event, they continued that tradition. And so the final, Lance Armstrong will start in last place. He will be the last person to start the race, and for every person he passes, $1 will get donated to charity. And so there are 28 charities and 28 aid stations participating along the whole course, and they run the whole gamut. You got everything from the Austin Education Fund and Back to Track, which Liz will try to make her way over there at mile 8, to a number of charities that are along the course. We have some really good storylines in terms of cheerleading. The Run Lab Bridge is on mile 7. Run Lab and the Loop Running Company, they have kind of partnered together. And right over the bridge over there by the Seaholm Shopping Center, there's going to be a band. There's going to be a lot of people over there. There'll probably be a couple hundred people if I had to guess. And they'll be probably partying and also having a big cheer station and a nice aid station. So a lot of the things that we haven't seen in Austin are going to be on full display in this course today in terms of the cheering and the actual energy that we've that it's kind of taken some time to build, but now the event is so big and there's so much hype around Lance running this thing, and so I think we're going to have an amazing race.
Well, two other people who are running this race for the first time, the former owners of the race, the Austin Marathon Half Marathon, John and Stacy Conley, who are back in town, and Stacy's getting ready for the Nagoya Women's Marathon in Japan in 1 month's time, and John's never run this race, which he used to own, and he's anxious to become a customer rather than just an owner this time. So it's good to see the Conleys back in Austin.
Yeah, and we got to see John yesterday over there at the Maratona Mile, which we'll do a little bit of coverage later on, but we had some we'll really deep dive into it later, but we had some awesome races yesterday, some really fun things happening all throughout the day at the expo. Fleet Feet had a major presence yesterday. They were handling all the Under Armour merchandise, so it's obviously been just a really fun 2 days leading up into today, which is really the big show now.
Yeah, and we're getting a look at all the athletes lining up. About an estimated, or as of the 15th, so a couple days ago, we had 3,500 runners signed up for the marathon, 9,000 for the half, and about 2,200 for the 5K that'll also go on today. Paras, I want to hear a little bit the growing reputation of Austin as kind of a hub for runners. We know the reputation of New York City, of Los Angeles as running cities, but how is this race impacted the reputation that Austin has as a running city?
Yeah, so, I mean, if you look at Austin, what other city do you know, a major city that has a 10-mile gravel trail in the middle of downtown? And people use it actively to run and train, and also it's become a commuter hub, right? People live on the east side, they take the trail into downtown, and so you don't have a lot of cities like that. And so the Trail Foundation is a wonderful entity that we have here in Austin that supports and helps in conjunction with the city supporting the trail. The race itself has really spun off of all of the community that we've had for years and years and years in Austin. And so when you look at what the race is now, roughly 4,000 full marathoners, roughly 12,000 half marathoners, 16,000 entrants, the whole race now pretty much goes through what we would the equivalent of New York City's 5 boroughs, right? We get to see South Austin, we get to see East Austin, which is where Flow HQ is. We get to see a little bit of North Austin up there on Burnett and 45th area. We get to go through campus. So most of the major landmarks in the city of Austin are run on this course, which is quite frankly, not most marathons don't make a conscious effort to go through all of the hard parts of the city just because the permitting is hard. But Jack and High Five and Dan Carroll and Stacy Keys, they've really thoughtfully designed this course. Sure, it maybe made it slightly harder, but the runners get a much better experience. They get to see the whole city. The city is over 1.5 million people now in the major metropolitan area. And so when you look at a city that big, and, it's grown almost 2x in 20 years, right? And so
I know.
When you grow,
you feel it in the traffic coming in from the airport.
Yeah. Tony and I left the expo yesterday just to go to his hotel 4 blocks away, and it took about 25 minutes. And
the whole city's turned into Maine. You can't get there from here.
Yeah, exactly. So, the race is just wonderfully put on. It's well executed. It's why you're seeing when Tony and I first covered it, and in Lincoln, we all first covered the very first elite race. There wasn't really much of an elite field when High Five took this over, and it was really just a one-man show, right? If we remember, the runaway winner there that day was Joe Thorne, and it really wasn't, no offense to Jordan, but it wasn't really that fast, right? And why you've seen better elites is because of the work William Dyson has done at High Five events to really try to recruit and get these bigger names here, the guys like Patrick Rizzo, who's run 2:13 before. Joey Wheeler.
It's bringing back the heritage which was there in the first place. I mean, it was always a 2:11, 2:12 race back in the past. And that was a different course, certainly, but this race has had fast times in the past. I mean, I was going back in my history a little bit, just looking at this century, how many fast Americans there have been, or a sub 2:11:06, sub 5 minute per mile pace. I mean, Jimmy Harold was second in this race back in 2003. He ran 2:12.
Yeah.
And second place was 2:12 in this race. So we're getting back into that level. Plus, there's people from all 50 states and many foreign countries. So Austin has a growing reputation. One of our top women in the race came all the way from Odessa, Ukraine. So
we had a great conversation with her yesterday.
Christina, she had her prepared the interview there, and she was delightful. And so she's very excited to be coming all the way from Ukraine to run in the Austin Marathon. Good for her.
And so but going back to what Lincoln said, like the growing reputation of Austin, but the elites and subsequently you've seen increase in numbers in the full and in the half because people just know the VIP finish line party sponsored by Oscar Blues and Tito's Vodka. People really want to get excited about the VIP party. For the first time ever, we've seen a number of people spin up some after parties, right? This is what the good marathons have. Tony knows this. You get an organic culture where people are putting on parties themselves. Resident Runners does it over there in New York City. That's like the biggest after party. There'll be a couple in Austin today, Lululemon, Raw Running, a few other groups are going to have parties all around the city post race today. And that's the first time I've seen that in the 28 years I've lived in Austin. I haven't seen people really make a conscious effort to do these after parties and really have marathon week rather than just marathon day, right? We had Skid Row Marathon, which is the homeless row in the street where everyone lives in Los Angeles. Well, those homeless people live in Los Angeles. There's a documentary made. So Tim League, the founder of Alamo Draft House, and Jack, the owner of High Five Events and the race director, they brought Skid Row Marathon in for a screening where 100% of the proceeds actually go to building a trail in a homeless community out here in Austin. And so these are all things that have made it really marathon week and not just marathon day. And it's really made the city significantly more vibrant and more excited about the actual marathon itself.
And listen, Austin obviously didn't win the trials, and that went to Atlanta clearly. But being among the nominees for that, or being among the finalists to get the U.S. Olympic Marathon trials, was a big deal. And just putting the hat in the ring there, and then seeing the growth here, that can only mean better things for, especially the elite competition.
You know, one of the things as athletes know very well, there has to be intention. You know, and from an event standpoint as well, what is your intention? Yeah. Is my intention just to have a fun run? Is it to have an elite competition? What do you want to do? And that you have to define what your goal is before you can ever sort of set up a structure to achieve those goals. And High Five and Jack Murray and his whole team have an intention of continually growing this event, making it bigger and better, in many ways mirroring the growth of the city itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are about five-ish minutes away from the start here. We can see the light starting to come on. The Capitol will show up soon. Very beautiful. Still have some what looks like Christmas lights out there. So it's
those are Christmas lights.
City needs to get on that.
Yeah.
Maybe just keeping those around for this marathon. But you can see the Capitol, such a picturesque start. I mean, you really can't get a more idyllic start than what this Austin Marathon begins at. But the pre-race jitters are probably about at their peak here as 5 minutes or so from the start. Guys, any last-minute thoughts here?
Yeah, so for those watching at home, one of the just to give you some context, the way the course is run in the first 6 miles, it's 3 miles net uphill. It's going to basically get you to the highest point of the course when they get over there towards almost Congress and 290. Then they're going to take a right. They're going to come back down south first, and they're going to come back towards the city. And so because these fields are going to be tightly bunched, it is going to be a little tricky in the first 4 or 5 miles for us to maybe get exactly where the leader is in relation to the whole field, because our cameras are going to be looking for the women pack and sure. Rory and JT. So for those at home, don't freak out. Around mile 5 or so, we will end up getting some really dedicated coverage in there once these packs kind of thin out a little bit, and it makes it a little bit easier to go find people in the pack.
Notwithstanding that final hill, I mean, it's nice to have the hills early on. The LA Marathon is like that as well. I mean, the first 4 miles have the hills, and then it's a nice downgrade. I mean, there's some other rollers later on in the course, but the final 6 miles before that final hill are flat and nice. So if you can find, if you have running left in your legs when you hit 20, you've got opportunity to do some damage before that final hill. So it's a very interesting race course. It's not, there's racing to be done here. You just can't go running on this course. We talk about Houston. Well, Houston's dead flat.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's totally a rhythm runner's course. And Patrick Rizzo was talking about the fact that he is a rhythm runner, but he actually paced like the 30K at the Houston Marathon, I believe, and he was saying that for the women, he was pacing for the women, and there's a lot of surging that was going on, and he learned a lot, and his coach went back and really got him, get you out of your comfort zone. Let's get you working on changing pace. That's the Kenyan way of running. They never settle. They're constantly changing the pace so people can't find a rhythm. This race course does that for athletes as well.
Yeah, it definitely makes it more viewer-friendly and interesting. We'll hope on the men's side to kind of get more of a competition. The last couple of years has been a runaway, but I think with the fields that High Five has assembled here, we're going to see some really good competitions into the later stages of this race. As we can see, the athletes getting their final kind of shakeouts, stretching going on here as we're about to start.
Guys still got hops.
Yeah.
That's one thing distance running will take from you.
Yeah.
Those of you who were able to dunk the ball now can barely touch the bottom of the net.
No, yeah, absolutely. So just a couple moments away, and as Paris kind of highlighted, we'll get to all the charities here that are kind of represented through a majority of these aid stations throughout the miles, and obviously all the landmarks of Austin. This race really does cover all that you would want to see. If you want to take a tour of Austin, the Austin Marathon, not a bad way to do it.
This is about the best way you can possibly do it. And like I said, I mean, if you go back and we've really seen all over social media, we have seen people making events and groups and promoting their cheer stations, right? Not just the Run Lab cheer station. I think mile 8, the Back to Tracks cheer station will be really good. This race goes right down the middle of the drag, which is, where West Campus is, right? The University of Texas at Austin. It is going to split the middle of that campus. Yeah. And so do not be surprised to see some college kids out here early this morning with maybe a beverage or two in their hands as they watch and cheer. And so one of the great things about having these charities man these water stops is that these water stops are going to be very, very lively, very, very excited. And so the Charity Chaser program, Lance Armstrong being involved, helping raise all this money for charity, close to $1 million. I think they're at about $850,000 as of this morning. It's just an absolutely fantastic thing that we have going. And he is probably the highest profile charity chaser we've had to date. And so, unfortunately, Ricky Doyle from last year, the sportscaster, has been upset by Lance in terms of proliferity. So it's pretty awesome morning here.
We won't see him for quite a while, obviously, as he's even further back than the eye can see at this juncture than the rest of this field. But we'll be highlighting these gentlemen and ladies at the front in just about a moment, as we are inside a minute from the starting gun of the 2019 Austin Marathon and Half Marathon.
And I think with this uphill start, I do think we have seen in the last few years, they have gone out slower. It's been significantly more conservative, and I think there's no reason to believe that this year you're going to have a very fast starting line. You do have Ryan Miller there in what looks like to be the 4% in the black singlet right there in the very, very front with a rabbit singlet on. And so he is, again, one of the guys alongside James Ngandu. If we see James, and there's no reason to believe we won't, but if we see him, Ryan Miller and him, expect to see them go off.
All right, so here we go. The gun is off, and your 2019 Austin Marathon and Half Marathon has begun.
And it is a huge pack. We won't see much of anything here until probably a mile or two in, when these things start to really thin out a little bit.
And whereas there are pacers, 3 pacers on the women's side, which should constitute the lead pack. At least that's our thinking. Even there's, Anita and Heather are sub-240 marathoners. The odds are that there's no reason for them to go light out on their own. But there is no pacers on the men's side.
There is no pacers on the men's side. So this is real racing.
Yeah.
This is not a rabbited field. This is not London or any of these other races, or Dubai where we have somebody going through the 25K or 30K mark. This is a flat-out foot race. And to be honest, the foot races tend to lead to much better races, I think, than some of these rabbited attempts where maybe only 1 or 2 guys are left there at the end.
Well, we saw that in London last year where, Eliud Kipchoge wanted a 61 flat, pace. Well, no one can do that except him.
Right.
Then you had Wilson Kipsang, and one other guy had a 61:30 pace, and it was like a series of, they were running they weren't running together. They weren't racing each other. They were running individual time trials in groups. I'd much rather have a racing competition.
I do see Ngandu there. I believe that's him there in that green kit there. He's grown his hair out just a bit. I did at the outset see our marathon favorite, Joey Whalen, right there at the front already running with some half guys. So he's getting after it awfully early.
That's one thing they have to know. They have to decide, okay, I've always thought there should be double numbers for one or the other. There's more there's whichever one has the more. So you know who you're racing against. If you're not splitting up to 9 miles, I remember one time in Nashville, the Country Music Marathon, the lead pack went out, and there were like 3 or 4 guys from Eastern Europe out front, and some of the other guys said, well, they half marathoners and marathoners. We don't know. Should we go get them or not go get them? We don't know. And the bottom line is, if you had just a blank number, just had something on your back that showed that, okay, that's a half marathoner, that's a marathoner. Because you don't want to the marathoners do not want to start racing against the half marathoners and all of a sudden find out at 9 miles, oops, wrong crowd.
Especially with James Ngannou in the field, potentially, right? I mean, how much fun is it going to be for a guy running the full marathon if you're going to go with him at 62:30 or so? And so we've got a absolutely fantastic. Oh, and so there we see in the very front of there is Barry Kahn, who's got a raw singlet on and wearing some of those new Under Armour racing flats. And so he's up there pretty much in the, kind of going with that main pack up there. And Michael Morris, who Tony got to spend some time with yesterday in the bright blue singlet. He's a 3M half marathon champion. We'll spend some time later in this broadcast talking about Michael, but he's running the full marathon. He's out here to compete. And so he's 67 minutes and change at 3M half marathon recently, and he's been a kind of a local recent star on the Austin roads, and it's been really fun to run and hang out with Michael Morris and the San Marcos High School track and cross country coach.
Yeah, 29 years old. He owns the Texas State high school steeplechase record. And he said, in our conversation, what's really lit the fire under him is that coaching and teaching, helping others has been even more rewarding than what he's done individually.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's James Ngannou just already out to a pretty healthy start here, and they're just marching up Congress. They are about to go by the very famous I Love You mural.
And you can already see with that little right-hand point that he wants some help up front. But, I don't know how you guys feel, but it's almost like they pay at the finish line. If you've got speed, it doesn't serve your purpose. That's Caroline Rotich right now, so she did show up.
Wow.
From Albuquerque. I mean, she's the 2015 Boston Marathon champion, and you can see that very strong, rhythmic, elegant form that she's got. And this will be a meaningful race for her. I mean, she wouldn't be here. When you're getting ready for the Boston Marathon, one of the Abbott World Marathon majors, every training run, every race has real meaning. And so she's got purpose out there today. And, of course, Boston is a rolling course, predominantly downhill, but the downhills are the damaging parts of that race course, not the helpful parts. And so Caroline, I thought she's never run here before, but based on her performance here, we'll see a new record.
And so she's run the half, and I'll let Tony elaborate a little more on this. But one of the things Lincoln brought up in the pre-show was, these improved elite fields. What does it say to High Five's ability to get a Caroline Rotich and to get a James Ngannou to show up to this half and really, go after both of these course records, as well as there is a watch, right? We have 61:05 is the fastest ever half marathon run in the city of Austin. It is Martin Fagan did that in 2009 at 3M. Martin Fagan's obviously some issues as it relates to some doping issues. So the next fastest time is 61:52, I believe. And so this is a fast enough course, I think, in the half that James, if he's flying today, there's a real threat here that he could run the fastest half ever run in the city of Austin.
Yeah, so we can see both of those on the men's side and the women's side. Caroline Rotich is now 34 years of age. Of course, Kenyan by birth and nationality, but she spent her high school years in Japan, just like the late, great Sammy Wanjiru did. It's a well-trod sort of path from the Great Rift Valley. The Japanese come and recruit kids to run in high school. So Caroline had that great combination of Kenyan DNA and Japanese training strength, and now she's been living in Albuquerque for years. And again, she's run 15 marathons and won 3, including the 2015 Boston Marathon. But the last 2 years in Boston, she's dropped out. So she's coming into this 2019 year, going back to Boston, and she really wants to get off that schneid of 2 DNFs in the last 2 years in Boston.
Wow, this is, again, just pretty. We hadn't heard from Caroline, so to see her show up and make a good appearance here, and hopefully, right the ship and run really fast so she can go into Boston really strong, healthy, and maybe return to that 2015 form. It's a really exciting storyline for us to watch throughout the whole morning. And so there she is in the same screen as Barry Kahn and Michael Morris. And so that's, Michael said he could run anywhere from 220 to 230. And so that means Caroline is not running slow today.
And I would expect her to surpass these guys, but it's nice to have this men's field there to kind of, I mean, right now they're forming a vacuum around her so she doesn't have to, kind of take the wind on by herself. So it's really
so the first 9 miles at least, she's going to have these men marathoners to run with. And then the question is what's going to happen when she peels off. Will there be any other half marathoners that she can link up with?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a good shot of Michael again. And kind of in that pack, you saw that black Ross singlet back there. That is Barry Kahn, is a local runner, ran at Cornell in college, was coached by the brother of the Robert Johnson from Let's Run. It was his coach at Cornell, and so Barry has been healthy, training again for the last couple months, and so we may see him run something around the 72, 73 minute range, and that should give you some perspective on what Caroline's doing, right? 72, 73 minutes on this course is not a joke at all.
Yeah, she's just kind of trying to revitalize that career. I mean, her half marathon PR, 68 minutes, comes from all the way back in 2011. So she's run quite a few miles on those legs, and obviously that 2015 Boston is probably doesn't seem so long ago for her, but the sport maybe has surpassed her just a bit now. But you've won Boston. That's something that will define a career, and she'll always be known by that. Interesting, though, she is running in like an unattached kit. I mean, that's a non-logoed uniform she's wearing, though, there. So, maybe looking to jumpstart that, get some sponsorship again. That's a long road back. But
and as these runners have really started to make their way, we are going to go live with Liz. In just a minute here, we are going to go live with Liz Oberg, our on-course personality today. And we'll take Lincoln over there to get that all set up here in a second as we watch Caroline and Michael Morris march up Congress Avenue. Sorry.
So we're about to toss it down to a on-the-course interview, but we continuing to watch this marathon field. But shortly, we are going to toss it down to our own Liz Oberg, who is standing by with Lance Armstrong, the 2019 Charity Chaser.
Is this live?
Yes.
Oh. I was like,
So, Lance, you are today's Charity Chaser for Austin Gives Miles. Can you tell me a little bit about your role today and what it means to you to be supporting 28 Central Texas nonprofits?
So great. I mean, I'm sitting here watching these, what is now walkers, but when they get across here, they'll start running. And it's been 10 minutes since the first people started. So I got to wait another 15 minutes and then I get running. And, look, there's two things. It's awesome to help all these charities. You still got to run a marathon to do it. So it's the good news is we're helping charities. The bad news is you got to run 26.
So you are going to go out there and be competitive, though, for these charities. The more people you pass, the more people it benefits, actually.
Competitive is maybe a stretch, but I'm gonna run as fast as I can, which is not that fast.
How did you prepare to run today?
I was training good. I was feeling good. I had a great plan. I had this guy, Coach Matt Henson, who has been wonderful, great structured plan and things I'd never done before, and then started to get some injuries, tweaked my hamstring 3 or 4 weeks ago, which totally slowed down my progress, but knock on wood, it's better now. So the one thing I don't want to have happen is it act up again and in the middle of the race, so I want to I'll start conservative and then pick it up as I go.
So as much as that physical preparation is important, when you're plagued with injuries, the mental game is just as important.
Oh, wow.
How do you get through those 26.2?
Well, I've done a few marathons, so it's the old adage that 20 miles is halfway is true. And when you think about it and you try to put your mind around that doesn't make any sense, but that is true. And the last 10K that's when you mentally have to just say, okay, we've got 40 or 45 minutes left and just get it over with.
So when you do get it over with, is there a time that you're hoping to be at, or maybe a number of people that you want to pass?
If I run 3 hours, you pass almost everybody. And so I think I can run 3. This is not, for people who don't know, this is not a fast course. This is it's a lumpy, hilly course that it's just not conducive to running fast. And temperatures, could be cooler, but whatever. They are what they are, and so I'll go out and do my best.
So not the worst day to race. Have a great race out there. I think you have a little bit time before you get started, but we'll let you go warm up.
I want all these people to get going, so I need to get this over with.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Yeah. All right.
All right, Liz, thank you very much. And she was down on the course there with Lance Armstrong, who will begin his 26.2 miles shortly as the charity chaser. Pick up $1 for charity with every runner he picks up on the course. But back on the runners already running out on the course, continuing to see Caroline Rotich, the former Boston Marathon champion, taking it to these men's marathoners here. We also have a fast men's half, a competitive men's half that we'll cut to in just a moment, as well as we see James Ngandu really starting to surge a bit here as Tim Rackers tries to cover that move. Heading through, still on Congress here, the famous, what is that, the Austin Motel.
Yep, and they are going to, I guess they went by the first of, I think, if I do this math right, I think it's the first of 4 Torchy's Tacos that they are going to go by on this whole course. And so that's, if I was running this race, it would not be uncommon if I just stopped and ate a taco instead. And actually, one of the fun things, like I talked about all the pre-race and the fun stuff, Torchy's put up a big Facebook post, and they're actually having a huge watch party today and giving out free tacos for the marathon all morning long. And so now we shift over to the women's marathon. That's Heather Lyberg in the red top, bib number 8. And so we can kind of maybe talk a little bit about Heather's background and kind of the fun of living in Montana.
Helena, Montana. It can get cold there. She's the mother of 3, a second-grade teacher as well. She's run 2:34 several years ago at Grandma's. She's been in the top 10 like 3 times in the last 5 years at the Los Angeles Marathon. So she's solid. She's not going to run her PR today, but she's as solid as can be, sub 240 marathoner. I mean, she's very consistent. Now, the question with her, of course, is coming out of Helena, Montana, in the middle of winter. We've seen this with some of our guys who also train in the colder parts of the country. For instance, like Jamison Mora, who's with the Hoka Aggies. He spent 15 years at San Luis Obispo, went to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo in California. 2 months ago, he moved to Mammoth Lakes, California, and it promptly snowed 10 feet. So he said, you can't, you only can run where you can run. It's like you can't go to places where you want to run because it's 10 feet of snow on the road. So that's part of what makes it difficult. Now, is that Mary Acord running with Heather Lyberg? That the woman who's covered up with her number?
Yeah, well, we can't see her bib numbers.
Kind of looks like Mary Acord to me.
Wow. What's her background, Tony?
Mary Acord's been popped for drugs. That's one of her backgrounds. But that kind of looks like her. We'll have to see what her bib number is being covered over. I mean, she was always running in these B type marathons. She wasn't in the World Marathon Majors, but she was a constant presence in many of these top local end events. But then at one point she got popped.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out and see who, again, her bib numbers inconspicuous there.
But it looked like her.
Yeah, covered up. There's a look at the men's marathon field. The athlete on the left side of the screen in the golden kit there is your defending champion, Joey Whalen. So early in this men's marathon, just kind of feeling each other out, but already some some competition. I mean, last couple of years, it seemed like we already had a runaway winner or leader on the men's side. So early signs that we'll at least see better competition this year.
Well, and so right there on that screen, the leader in this black singlet of this pack of 4 is Alan Summerall, who we got to spend a very good amount of time with. And Tony, you'll probably attest, he may be one of the most well-spoken people Tony's probably ever talked to. He's a PhD law student here in Austin at the University of Texas. He started running while he was at Bates College. He is running the half marathon, and he said yesterday he could run anywhere from, on a perfect day, sub 65, all the way to 67:30. The fact that he is running with Ryan Miller ahead of Joey Whelan tells you that this former University of Texas fifth-year graduate student who has run sub 30 for 10K is feeling really, really good. Yep, And so, absolutely, let's go back to we'll play a little interview here of Alan Summerall, as our discussion with him yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot to balance. It's a very busy schedule, but I love running. Running was kind of what made me start liking school to begin with. Kind of late in high school when I first started getting into running, that's when my grades went up. That's when I figured out how to apply myself and kind of learn to set goals. So for me, running and academics have always gone hand in hand, and when I'm doing one, I always wish I were doing the other. So to me, they complement one another, and that's how I'm able to do both, I think.
Yeah, Alan is one of those interesting characters who did not just, didn't come up through high school as a great runner and then go into college or something like that. He was kind of discovered, by one of his coaches and kind of surprised him. And all of a sudden, he used to run like 7 miles a day, like 3 or 4 days a week. And the next thing you know, someone asked him to come out for something, and he all of a sudden, if I could break 70 minutes for 5K once, I'd be happy. Next thing you know, I was running 2 or 3 miles at 5-minute pace, and I said, oh my God, I got some talent here. Next thing you know, he, showed himself on as a D3 All-American at Bates College.
Yep, and so in that gold singlet is Joey Whelan. Joey Whelan, obviously the defending champion, now running for Nike Stoughton Racing, and obviously did that great workout I shared with Tony. Another real fun fact about Joey is that he was actually bitten by a dog on a run a couple weeks ago, and so he put it up on Instagram and said, I was bit by this dog. Hopefully it doesn't affect my training too much. And the way he looks right now, it clearly has not affected his training very much, because he is running with a 2:14 marathoner that's only going half of the distance.
And you could see, when you see the nature of hills on television, which is a two-dimensional surface, that's really the severe hill. I mean, down or up. And you can see them really rolling down that hill. So it's always hard to make the grade obvious on television because it flattens everything out. But they were really scooting down that hill.
Yep, and just sitting on the back of that chase pack is actually Mike Lowe, who was a former University of North Texas graduate. He has run very, very fast. I think he's run somewhere around 14-15 or so for 5K, but he's a New Zealand guy, moved to Denton, Texas, just a suburb-ish of Dallas-Fort Worth area, has now living in Austin, and his biggest goal is Super Bowl of running, per se, is running representing New Zealand internationally in a World Half Championship, in a full marathon championship. And so he's new to Austin. We've seen him run some few races. He's run a race in Shreveport where he was second and ran 64:54 for the half. And so this is Mike Lowe. He knows these hills. He runs on this course. He's run in Austin for the last year and a half since he's been here. And so Mike Lowe is no stranger to this course. He's keeping him in his wheelhouse. Joey must be feeling really, really good if he is leading a pack of people that are only running half the distance.
So Joey's the lone marathoner in that lead pack.
Yes.
The rest of those guys are just running the half marathon.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he knows the course. I mean, last year the new course was, unveiled, and Joey ran the thing. But he ran it in 2:31. It was a tough run, as I recall, like a 1:12 first half.
Yeah.
It was a rough way to run 2:31. But he's obviously in much better shape now and has that experience behind him as well. So I think it'll be a little bit more even within the nature of this course.
And what's real funny to look at, or really great to look at on this screen, is actually you have 4 guys all from the Austin area right now on this screen, right? The furthest person away is Ryan Miller, who lives about an hour away. So all these guys know these roads really well. They've run on this course or components of this course, either in their training or at different races like the Capital 10,000 or the 3M Half Marathon. They've all seen different parts of this course in different races and in training environments. So these 4 running together, they know what they're doing together.
And just to give you an idea of where they're at as far as tempo, I mean, Whelan obviously running with these accomplished runners, and they're only doing the half. It's showing that he's going out pretty hard, but they were about 16 minutes through the first 5K, as we talked about, and net uphill, so not easy. I mean, that's 2:15 pace. So a little, wasn't exactly on. They may have been at 16:05 as we were just eyeballing it, but Whelan, the guys run 2:16 and they're crushing it. Yeah, so about 16:03 pace. So I mean, they're running sub 2:16 pace at least for for the full marathon, and only Whalen, so they're running about 68-minute pace.
And you can see there are already gaps from looking at our screen here. That Joey Whalen is 16:03, leading those other half marathoners. Patrick Rizzo is in second place in the marathon at 16:26, so 23 seconds behind. And Jamison Mora, one of our other expected top finishers, is at 17 minutes. So there are gaps already in this marathon. And it's been interesting that Joey Whalen is not sitting behind those half marathoners. He's leading them on.
Right.
And that sort of tells me, Paris, that he's got something on his mind other than just winning the race, because he's on a particular pace.
And actually, we've got a really interesting race developing over there in the men's half marathon with James Ngandu came through the 5K at exactly 5 flat pace, 15:34. Tim Rackers went with him. And he was right there with him, and also Gonzalo Parra, and Gonzalo is a late ad, and he is a student, I believe, in somewhere in Northern California, and University of St. Louis Potosí, actually in Mexico, and I believe, and could be wrong here, but I believe this is actually a Leo Manzano connection. When Leo goes down to St. Louis, Potosí, he gets a big training group together, and so Gonzalo and Leo are friends, and so you see right now
there's a break.
James has decided to really push the pace here on Tim, and I'm sure Tony has probably seen Tim Rackers run a number of times in various races.
But you could just look at the tempo and see that not just leg turn, but look at that foot strike and everything planing forward, not splaying out. It'd be very good mechanics, and he's really driving those arms. There's the difference between your marathon and your half marathon. That he's near that threshold right now. The marathoners can't really afford to do that, but that's a really nice tempo he's got going, and he's used it in the last several hundred meters to open up that gap.
Yeah, and Tim Rackers is not by any means. His PR is only 66 minutes. But he's actually a very, very good runner. Outside of that, he ran at the University of Tulsa. He has been coached by some very, very good coaches, but also he's run with guys like Chris O'Hare, Carl Stones, Paolo Pinheiro. These are all University of Tulsa very, very good runners in the past that have been NCAA All-Americans. So Tim Rackers has a pedigree and has been to NCAA championships. He's run at just as high level competitions as James Ngandu. So obviously there's a gap forming there, but there is – and Tim may not be able to do much against a 61-minute guy, but this gives you some perspective on how good James is, because Tim is not a joke at all of a runner. This is a very, very good performance that if James is able to put 30 seconds on somebody like that.
Yeah, but 61 minutes in recent times that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's 61 minutes now, not 61 minutes in 2016.
And
right.
It does show you the difference of somebody like James Ngandu just recently wrapping up his college career in May. And Tim Rackers, maybe a little bit more removed. Now, James may just be a better, long-distance runner than Tim, but Ngandu's still training, and he's still got that fitness from being the best runner in Division II for a couple of years there. So,
but Lincoln, also what happens is when you get out of school for the first time, now it can go one of two ways. You get out of school, and all of a sudden, all those responsibilities of being a student and getting your grades. And I know the athletes that come over from overseas are primarily first a student. They're athletes second. I go back to Ibrahim Hussein when he was at the University of New Mexico. I mean, he was like third indoors at the 1,000 meters as a college student, but he wasn't in any great shakes. The minute he got out of school, though, and concentrated, next thing you know, he became a 3-time Boston Marathon champion and a captain of the Kenyan Olympic team. But once they get out of school, now you can unload all your other responsibilities and focus in on your athletics. And bingo, you can have a very big spurt right away.
Absolutely.
And so this is the second time in the last month that James has been to been to the state of Texas, right? He was at Houston, was here. James is actually in an MBA program right now at Tiffin, which is where as Lincoln mentioned earlier, he's won the Division II national championship in cross country. And so this is a guy who's kind of doing it all, right? We didn't get a chance to sit down with him yesterday, but one of the things I really love and admire about some of these elite athletes is, their responsiveness. When we sent out a questionnaire, we tried to get some feedback from some of the athletes. A 61-minute guy, the class of this field, was the very first reply we got back. In under 5 minutes, he took his time to get us a lot of information about him. And so really it's a testament to his coach Brendan Moody and Jeremy Croy and Tiffin University and Columbus Running Company that, they've really helped this guy really understand what it's like to be a 61-minute guy, but also understand a level of professionalism and how we can help tell his story. And you know, as he's going and marching down here, coming down south first, he is just to pass the Texas School for the Deaf, past El Mercado Restaurant, and so now he is getting really, really close to downtown Austin, and he is just on a flat, flying downhill section part of the course, and so just an absolute, you know, really good guy, I think, to really highlight here as he's putting on quite a display.
Yeah, look around to see if there's anyone nearby. Doesn't see anyone in his rearview mirror, but he seems eyes on the horizon. And so we go from the men's half to the women's half, and she's tucked in right behind those three men. It's Caroline Rotich from Kenya. Once again, the 2015 Boston Marathon champion who is preparing herself for this April 15th running of the Boston Marathon, and this is a big tune-up race for her. She went through 5K in 17:16, 5:33 per mile pace. Sarah Pease is like a minute and 10 seconds behind, and then Jane Barekalis is in basically, there's four women. Nicole Roberts is in there, Jocelyn Todd, both of them who we interviewed yesterday, Sarah Pease as well. So there's a pack of four, 1 minute and 10 seconds behind Caroline Rotich. And we expect that gap to grow as the race goes on, because Caroline Rotich is a world-class athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. And a very interesting story, right, is that the race pays 3 deep. And so you've got a pack of 4 women right now in the chase pack that are gunning for they're here for the prize money. They're here for the Austin experience, right? But it's just an awesome field that we're going to get to track a little bit later here, where you got 4 women gunning for 3 spots. Nicole Roberts, the English woman, former University of New Mexico athlete. Yep, the steepler, who Tony got to spend quite a bit of time with yesterday. Jocelyn Todd, who we spent some time with, and Sarah Pease. All 3 of these women came for some pre-race interview yesterday, and so we've got really, we'll get a little bit to highlighting them later, but we've had an absolutely really great time that we got to talk to all of them, and we'll be able to tell you a little bit more about them.
And Jocelyn Todd was second in this half marathon last year.
Yeah, and so Jocelyn Todd, right, great to see her back on the roads, but most importantly, she knows the course. And so between her and Sarah Pease, who's lived here and actually knows the course like the back of her hand as well, you're going to see a very, very experienced group of women that are going to really tackle the last 3 miles tactically together.
So we are going to toss it down to our man Drew Butler with a noon representative down on the course. So we'll go down to the start line now.
Once they cross the lake, they're going to take a left turn on Cesar Chavez.
Hey, I'm here with Brittany Salata, the regional field marketing manager for Noon. Brittany, can you tell us a little bit about who Noon is for those that don't know?
Absolutely. Noon Hydration is a electrolyte sports replenishment product, and we partner with marathons and on-course races all over the country to help inspire people to move more and to reach their personal bests.
Awesome. So I know you guys have a new product out there on the course today. Can you tell us a little bit about what that product's called and some of the differences from your original products?
Absolutely. So a performance product is what I like to call our carby electrolyte. It's got added carbs and added calories, so it'll help you fuel for the longer distance. Our flagship product is our sport product, and that's got basically no calories and no carbs and very, very low sugar. So it's meant for anything under 90 minutes. So the performance really upped our game and brought us to the next level so we can partner with marathons and longer distance endurance events.
Awesome. So, you guys have got some awesome products out there, but you're also really involved in the community. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the things Noon does to support the Austin running community?
Yeah, so anything from group runs we participate in. We do a lot of happy hours with local runners just to kind of promote the product and to get them ready for race day. You know, we are on course for all the major events here in Austin and other parts of Texas, so getting Noon into the hands of runners before race day is really important to us. We really like that pre-race education, and just hydrating is what we do best. So outside of the Austin Marathon, we love to support happy hours and smaller events and pretty much anything that goes on in runners' lives. We want to inspire them to move more, whether that's running errands or running a marathon.
Awesome. So finally, What does it mean for you guys to be here at the Austin Marathon today and be a part of this great event? Perfect day here for runners.
This is the perfect day. I've been a part of Austin Marathon now for 4 years, and this is the best day we've had ever. I'm so excited for the runners. They're going to have a great day out there. Noon is so special because we actually show up for the runners. Unlike other electrolyte products out there, we show up, we're here, we're in the trenches with the event crew, with you guys. We're at the finish line handing out single serves to runners at the finish. We want to get them hydrated and rehydrated after their PRs. It's just such a special event. I'm so thankful to be involved with this amazing team that puts on Austin Marathon. High Five is incredible. And for me, it's more than just running. It's being a part of their journeys from start to finish and then continuing on the rest of their time.
Great. Well, quick last question. If anyone wants to go purchase Noon, what are some of the local retailers they can find it in?
Great question. We are actually everywhere. So anywhere from Whole Foods to Central Market to Sprouts to Fleet Feet Austin, HEB even, Target, and any of your other biker run specialty stores. But go to Fleet Feet Austin.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Brittany. Thanks for coming out and supporting the race and joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Drew.
So that was Drew and Brittany Saleda, a representative from Noon Hydration. As we cut back to the race, we're still seeing a fast tempo set by our lone man in the marathon field up with these half marathoners, and that is Joey Whalen, the defending champion, getting out quick. We're just talking off air. The guy's on 2:14 pace right now. Of course, he's getting the benefit of some downhills at this juncture, but still getting after it.
Joey's in he's the singlet on the right. Wearing number 1 in the sunglasses. He's the lone marathoner in that lead pack. The other 3 guys are running in the half marathon, and they're in like 3rd place in the half marathon. That's Alan Sumrall, Brian Miller, and Mike Lowe. And again, when they split off at 9 miles, Joey Whalen, who's on the screen by himself, will be actually on the street by himself.
Yeah, it was actually great. We were talking. Obviously, we've spent some time with Joey over the last couple of years. We've seen some of his workouts, and he is on the fastest part of the course, one of the fastest parts of the course right now. They are coming straight down. They're in between miles, about 7 and 8 or so. They're going to go by Run Lab. They just actually went underneath, or they're about to go underneath, the Run Lab Cheer Station Bridge that we talked about earlier in the broadcast. This is a local company. They provide some gait analysis, and they help runners get and you see see Joey just get some water over there. And so Ryan Miller, Mike Lowe just turned around, offered to help Ryan Miller out and Joey out with some water. That's some fantastic sportsmanship we just saw from Mike Lowe, offering to help out a guy running double the distance with some water. Shows you what high character people that High Five has really brought into the fold here. Not just good runners and good athletes, but also good sports. And so Alan Sumrall in there mixing it up with Joey. But, I mean, maybe we'll let Tony talk a little bit about this. But, I mean, what's going to happen when Joey's running 2:14 pace? What do you think will happen when they turn off at mile 12 and he's all by himself?
Well, I think he'll dial it back, but that's just the nature of things. I mean, you get locked. The question you have to ask yourself is, would you rather run alone at a pace which is right in your wheelhouse, or do you want to either run a little bit faster or a little bit slower running with a group of people? Yep. And a lot of times people will choose to run with a group to get that, that group dynamic, that Peloton effect, that energy which is shared within a pack that's not shared when you're on your own. And that could well be the situation here. I mean, Joey Whalen, if he was the first time on this course, you might be a little bit worried that he's running so much faster than he did the year before as he takes a look at his watch. But I think he's got himself dialed in pretty well. The fact that he did a 22-mile workout on the course, the fact that he won the race last year, he saw how much of a positive split race he ran. He was 112 at halfway and like 119 at the second half. He might have learned his lesson. He's in much, much better shape, obviously. But he's chosen to basically take that group dynamic through at least the 9-mile mark while he can. He can always dial it back. The odds are he knows, or people will tell him, that he's got a big cushion to work with. And so he's just going to go from working with a group dynamic to internal monitoring once they make the split.
Yep, and Heather Leiberg went through 5K. She's their women's leader over there on that split screen, and bib number 8 in the red top. And so she went through 5K in 19 flat. Anita Perez went through it in 19:10. Christina, who came all the way from Ukraine, went through it in 19:13. So
Bohomikova.
yeah, and so we've seen those three. It's really going to be it looks like Heather is all out there all by herself, but trust us, Anita and Christina are not very far behind. They're in the wheelhouse. This is a 26-mile run. So
Christina's run 8 marathons. She's got a PR of 2:46, which she ran last May in Belfast. But she's also run a 50K Ultra in China in October, where she got second place. So her dream is to take part in the an Ultra World Championships at 50K. And so she's come here all the way because she read about the city of Austin, and she really wanted to bring her daughter and take part in this competition, her daughter Maria. So she was a delightful soul yesterday during our interview, and she just hopes to have a podium and to run 2:45 and a PR.
Yeah, and maybe we can shift it over there back to Caroline Rotich and the women's half leaders, as she is running in a pack of just a few guys over there, but Caroline split through 10K in 34:30. She is making her way down as well towards mile 7, and so we will get some more updates on Caroline. But again, Sarah Pease, Jocelyn Todd, Nicole Roberts, they're still running in a pack of, and Jane Barikis, those 4 women, they're running together. They have to know Caroline's up there. I'm sure they know it's 4 women fighting for the remaining 2 prize persons.
Yeah, but Caroline's going to have to lose the race. They're not going to be good enough to catch her. I mean, she's running 5:33 pace with guys, and those women are running together at 5:39 per mile average right now, having gone through in about 1 minute and 30 seconds slower through the 10-kilometer mark. But the bottom line is if Caroline makes an error, it's hard to make an error at the half marathon, though. I mean, when you're that experienced a runner, I mean, this is somebody that knows what she's doing. She's not going to completely fall apart in a half marathon. But the other women, I think, were basically taking one another's measure. When you're trying to get that second place money, you know, it's almost like you just forget about the woman in first place and just sort of fight it out. So the odds are that the gap's going to grow as the distance piles on.
Yep, and so she's running right there in the orange shorts and the white top, bib number 11. That's Patrick Gagan. He's a 2:19 marathoner. And so, again, experience. Ran at Syracuse. Lincoln's covered him a little bit, and he's got his brother Will, and Lincoln's done a little bit of coverage on him through Lincoln's extensive flow coverage, flow track coverage in college cross country. So you're going to see Patrick Gagan, 2:19 guy. He's running with Caroline Rotich.
14:54 is the Bill Bertrand.
Yeah.
He's in the orange singlet behind.
Yeah, and
but look how efficient Gagan is in front. He's a perfect pace setter for Caroline Rotich. I mean, he's big and he's efficient. Those are the 2 of the great qualities you look for. I mean, he's not pacing on purpose. She's just using him for a pacer.
And in the colorful top there, bib number 21, you do have Michael Ellinger. And Michael Ellinger is a WashU at St. Louis graduate, ran a lot with Elliot Peterson, a local Austinite. And he's run 67 minutes for a half as well. And so
battling bear from Washington U. I'm a St. Louis boy from Washington U.
Oh, wow. And so we got Caroline Rotich is running with very accomplished men. That shows you how good she is flying right now.
So we will toss it down on the course with a sponsorship interview with Ari Perez and our man Drew Butler right now.
Hey, I'm here with Adi Perez, the operating partner of Fleet Feet Austin. It's my pleasure to be here with you, Adi. You guys are the official running store partner of the Austin Marathon. Can you tell us a little bit about that partnership?
Yeah, so we've been grateful to have the partnership alongside Austin Marathon and High Five Events, the production company, of course, that works hard to put on these world-class events. And that came to fruition a few months back, but by way of that, we've been able to hopefully offer an experience for all the attendees of this weekend's races, not only there at the expo, but even here post-race. So it's been a fruitful partnership with many, many more things to look forward to, whether it be the rest of the weekend and or subsequent years.
Awesome. So I know you guys have been really involved in the community so far since you've opened. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the impact that you've had in the local running community thus far?
Yeah. It's been a fast-moving 7.5 months. since we opened in July, and thankfully Austin's been very welcoming in terms of the running and fitness community, which only lets us know that maybe we found the right home in terms of deciding to open a store downtown, in addition to the existing store that is in Round Rock. So Fleet Feet has 2 locations here in the central Austin area, but even then we've been able to rub elbows with a lot of run groups: Austin Runners Club, Eastside Beer Runners, Raw Running, PFBC, kind of a handful of groups, whether it be running focused and or just fitness related, which has been a great experience this one.
So let's take it back a step. For those that don't know, what is Fleet Feet? What do you guys do? And tell us a little bit about what the experience is like when you come into your store.
Yeah, great question, Drew. So Fleet Feet essentially opened doors back in 1974. The original location was there in Sacramento, and since then has ballooned to just short of 180 locations across the nation. And what we essentially do is specialize in fitting each individual's feet into proper footwear. But it's a marriage between that individual's foot, a sock, a pair of orthotics, and even the footwear that's chosen that way. So it's a very interactive process, and it can hopefully we're able to guide and offer some sort of context for every product that's found not only there in terms of footwear, but all the essentials: nutrition, hydration, compression. There's a ton of things that a lot of today's participants are in need of, and our job is to essentially offer tidbits of information and education and context for each of those, because there's no great beyond that way.
So you guys are really offering a comprehensive experience when you come into the store. So what does it mean today for Fleet Feet to be a part of the Austin Marathon? Tell us what that means for you guys to be out here on this perfect day for runners in this great, awesome running city.
Yeah, and again, to back up to the partnership with the Austin Marathon, and it started even a few months back in terms of planning for the weekend's expo right there at the Palmer Event Center. So a lot of it came, all the race participants were able to or at least have the experience of Fit ID, which is a 3D foot scanner that we utilize that helps us essentially coming back to the fit process of what footwear, orthotics, and socks are. There at the expo, we'll had live music, we'll had kind of just a handful of really interactive things there at the expo. But in addition to that, here on site, just seeing a lot of the familiar faces that we get to see in the running community with all the aforementioned run groups, it's just a humbling experience. So it gets us fired up about it. I mean, it's much like the Austin Marathon team, and even on your end, maybe minimal sleep these last couple days, but it's all worth it in the long run.
All right, so last question. Where can people find you guys today if they want to purchase some official Austin Marathon gear, and where can they find you at your store?
Thanks. Yeah, so we're going to be set up with the official race merchandise on the corner of 6th and Congress, so just south of where we are here, right after the finish line. So it's open to the public that way. More than welcome to come along. We'll have everything that we have until, of course, it's gone that way. And even then, our store, our brick and mortar location, is downtown at the Seaholm Power Plant, which is, we literally share a wall with Trader Joe's for reference on the roadside entrance that way. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Adi, for joining us today, and really appreciate you guys being here, and go see Fleet Feet.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Drew, with Ari Perez, as we cut back to the men's half marathon, which is thoroughly being dominated right now by our pre-race favorite, James Ngandu. Kind of threw in a big surge shortly before the 10K mark and is just rolling away with this. In a few ticks, he will hit 15K, but he's been operating here at about the 440 range.
And you can see that hill he's coming up a long grade.
Yeah, and so he right now is actually on Enfield. So he just went by, or is going by, Lions Golf Course, which is a big story in Austin right now. They're trying to preserve the golf course. Just recently at the last city council meeting, they did opt to extend the lease for an extra year, and so it is it's on the National Historic Registry of Places. It's one of the most trafficked golf courses in the country, and so this is a historic part of town. This is the Rolling Hills part of the course, and so there he goes all the way down Lake Austin Boulevard, and then he'll go down on Enfield Drive, and so he's gonna be rolling hills from here on in, and so
He's flying.
And he's flying. And you can see in the very background, we got a little glimpse of Gonzalo Parra in the neon singlet.
45-35 unofficially at 15K.
No, yeah. And so Gonzalo is back there, and he looks like he's kind of leading Tim Rackers. But Tim and Gonzalo went with James early on, and the pace probably proved to be a little hot.
45-39 officially, the split at 15K. So you could just see that turnover. He got the right arm holding a little bit high, but he's really got a nice turnover going right now. And he, of course, comes into this competition with all the confidence coming from a 61-minute PR at the Houston Half Marathon in January.
So he's on about 64-minute pace, which on this course all alone is no joke for sure. And he may be able to pick it up and get into the 63s by the time all is said and done, as he has just under 4 miles to go.
But we had 64-16 win it last year with Patrick Smith, another really top-end American.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a time to shoot for, but he's going to have to do it solo.
And so the last 3 races, James has won, just to prove that this Houston thing wasn't totally a fluke. He ran 62:43 at Philadelphia, and he ran 63:42 at the Columbus Half Marathon. And so this is a guy that's run 61, 62, and 63 in his last 3 races. So do not think that there's no reason to believe. We have no reason to believe that James Ngannou is going to enter this race and fall apart in the last 5K or 3K or mile. He knows what he's doing. He's not like it's just in totally uncharted waters.
And totally, very strong too. May just be coming off his college career, but he's an older college graduate. He's 28 years old already, so it looks like about time to make that marathon debut for him, and that'll be a totally new experience. But
look at that hill.
Very strong. And showing it here in this Austin half.
This is about 100, maybe 80-meter hill. This is really not too bad. It looks a little bit steeper at grade than it is.
Well, you got to downshift 2 gears at least.
We got a downshift, but coming off of this one, he gets a nice, really, really steady downhill. We actually asked him before the race in a questionnaire we sent out to the athletes. We said, Tony and I asked him, what key workout did you know to do you were ready? And it was pretty funny. He replied back with, I'm just coming off the Aramco Houston Half Marathon a few weeks ago where I ran a PR of 61:51. I know I'm ready.
Yeah, no kidding.
And that's pretty good. So now he's coming down on this downhill part. You see he just kind of did wiped his face off, but he is totally out there solo. We see the noon and again, architecturally significant homes. This is the nicest part of the course. You have an absolutely amazing cheer section you got going on there.
Here's all 4 races on the screen simultaneously. That's the men's marathon on the left with Joey Whalen, our defending champion, running with 3 half marathoners. Heather Lieberg on the top right. That's the leader in our women's marathon. James Ngannou on the bottom left, our leader in the half marathon, and Caroline Rotich leading the half marathon on the women's side. On the right, running with 3 other half marathoning men.
Absolutely. And man, you can just see Joey Whelan, and we were just talking about this, the men's marathon leader, right? So you got Alan Summerall right now leading that pack. He told, we heard him earlier, we talked to Tony. We talked to Tony yesterday. He said, I could run anywhere from under 65 minutes on my best day to 67:30. Well, we have an absolutely, it's pretty good when you're leading Mike Lowe, Ryan Miller, and Joey Whelan in a half marathon. That means you're on one of your better days.
So we will toss it down for another on-course interview with Liz Oberg.
With Meg from Back the Track at the 8-mile marker aid station. Why was it important for you this year to make it such a big celebration?
Last year we just heard that the aid station everyone kept saying mile 8 was kind of dead, so we wanted to make sure that this year mile 8 is super loud. We have music going, we have lots of AISD students. We wanted this to be a really big pump up for a lot of our marathoners and half marathoners.
Tell me a little bit about Back the Track and your partnership with AISD.
Back the Track's a private-public partnership. We want to have their track as the crown jewel of the fitness community for Austin, running all the way to just fitness enthusiasts, and we really want to help support that school and support the city to be able to keep that as an awesome facility for everyone to be able to train.
So having that be a part of this community, who is out here right now helping you just celebrate this kind of running lifestyle that is such a big part here next to Ladybird Lake Trail?
Right now we have everyone from Raw Running to multiple running groups across Eastside Beer Runner Running, as well as we have a lot of students from AIC that showed up to support their school and help us. Some of them it's their first time, and so they're sitting right here, and we partnered them with UT Running Club is with us, and we gave them mentors for their first aid station, so they're also getting to have an experience from some college kids helping them learn.
And you are so passionate about this project. How many have you participated in, and why is the aid station so important for runners?
I've participated in numerous races. Running is just such a great thing to do in general, and I just felt like the aid stations are what keep you going. They help you fuel, and so it was my turn to be an aid station angel. And so everyone out here, if you're doing an aid station today, you're an aid station angel. Thank you, thank you. People are checking off bucket list items today to run a marathon. I know a few, and that's what these kids are excited about. People are getting to do stuff was on their list to do.
Your enthusiasm is contagious. Thank you so much, Meg.
Thank you.
So we are back. Thank you, Liz. And we're back with the women's marathon. Heather Lieberg and Mary Acor going at it right now. We do have a kind of an interesting scenario because Acor, not an athlete entered in the elite field. So as of the rules here of the way the Austin Marathon has been set up, she can't collect the prize money if she does win or finish in the top 3 here because she, again, wasn't registered at the outset to be in this elite field. So kind of an interesting scenario.
As we said before, Mary Acor, originally from Nigeria, became a U.S. citizen back in 2004, but in 2013 at a Mexican marathon, she did test positive for glenbuterol, which is a bronchodilator and an anabolic agent. And so all the results from December 2012 through November 2013 were erased. And I really haven't seen her on the circuit in years. So, I mean, I've seen her for years, but she must be 42, 43 years old right now. But that's maybe one reason why she got 3,700 something bib number, but it's being hidden. But this is by law, and it's an invitational race, so you have to be in the invited elite field in order to be eligible for the prize purses. And so Mary Acor, who's run at 2:33 back in her day, is running there with Heather Lieberg, and it sort of puts Heather in a strange place because all she knows there's another female next to her, so I'm racing her. And sometimes that may make you make decisions which you might not make on your own if you're just running by yourself. But as we can see from Heather's form, very tightly compacted arms, very low shuffling foot plant, and she's a veteran marathoner who's in great shape and knows how to race. But once again, running side by side with someone might make you do something you wouldn't do if you knew you had a big cushion instead.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so another, Heather Lieberg, a little bit more back of her background, right, is that she actually played basketball all growing up. Didn't start running until she was in her 30s.
Right.
She's got 3 kids and a husband at home. She said she just got a new Rottweiler puppy.
Wow.
And so one of the things about Heather, right, is sure she's a veteran marathoner, right, but she didn't start running until a little bit later in life. She probably doesn't know who Mary Acor is. She has no clue, likely, who she's running next to and the pedigree of the person or some of the backstory, right? And so, like Tony said, this could really Heather has to make some decisions here as to what do you do with the lead? How do you run? She has no clue. She probably can't even see Mary's bib.
Well, and generally speaking, even Mary has been running in front of her, not by a large degree, but she's been running in front of her. So Mary Acor is setting the pace.
Yeah.
The question is it within the wheelhouse of Heather Lieberg, or is it just a little bit over, but she doesn't feel like she can let her get away because she thinks she's running against her for the prize money? That's the thing. We don't know what's in Heather's mind.
Yep, and we did just get confirmation that you must be invited into the elite program to be eligible for prize money. So, again, Heather doesn't know that in the race, but she's got a nice lead here, and so it is.
Look up on your split. What's her latest lead that we had?
Yeah, absolutely. So Heather Lieberg, right, excluding Mary, Heather Lieberg has got a minute lead on Anita Perez and Christina from Ukraine, right? And so, again, Heather is by herself, effectively.
But as we well know, 1 minute can be meaningless as a lead in a marathon.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
On the right side of our split screen, we are approaching what will be the final mile soon, and about in the next 5-ish minutes for Ngandu. James Ngandu are no doubt, or I would assume, going to be our male winner of the men's half marathon as he looks as smooth as ever.
Yep, and he just went under Mopac. He's still on Enfield, and he's going to he's got about 1.5 miles left, and he's going to climb. He's going to go around the Capitol and finish with the iconic backdrop there where we will get obviously a live interview with him. But most importantly, it's going to be just an absolutely fun time for him, because he is going to run one of the fastest half marathons ever in Austin.
A 30-second lead on Gonzalo Parra right now, so Rackers has moved into third place, another 32 seconds back. And then Sumrall, Miller, and Lowe still running in a pack in 4th, 5th, and 6th.
So expecting the time maybe in the 63-minute range. He has had to slow down just a hair on these uphills, but still looks as strong as ever.
But his rhythm still looks the same. The course is making the splits change, not his rhythm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he's looked back many times, and in this case, I don't think he's looking back for a check on if anyone's close to him. I think he's looking back just for the fun and just checking out how hard he actually has to run if in the event that someone were to catch him, right? And that's obviously not going to happen at this point. So just absolutely flying. As we go down to that women's half marathon screen, we see Caroline Rotich has just absolutely poured it on. But we have Sarah Pease, who's run 54. She came through 15K in 54:12.
2 minutes, 2 minutes behind.
Yep. And Nicole Roberts, the English steeplechaser who we spent some time with yesterday.
Birchfield Harriers.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Nicole Roberts is a really, really good story. Basically, never really run a competitive half marathon, she said. She's running 2 quote-unquote competitive half ones. But she said she's just going to get in there, mix it up, and see what happens.
Nicole is running 1:17 PR. She's looking for something better here in Austin today. Her last race was actually the Canadian National Championships, a 5-miler back in 2018. Before that, she hadn't run since the track season of 2018. So she's not race sharp whatsoever. She might be strong, but she's not sharp. And we'll see how that plays out.
Yep.
She really likes Albuquerque. That's where she's been training.
Yeah, and we still just see Patrick Gagan and Michael Ellinger kind of running with Caroline Rotich. Caroline is on roughly 73-minute pace, which on this course indicates she's not really that far away from her PR. And maybe and Tony can give us some more insight here. But how does she look? What do you think? What do you think the possibilities are for her in Boston this year?
She's working that hill. I'll tell you that right now. You can really go onto her arms and really pressing it. Your carburetor, her mouth is wide open. That smoothness is gone. This is the strength that she's showing right now on this hill, and it's significant. But she's attacking it with those 3 guys. I mean, they've all gone to their arms. You can see them really using those arms to lift those legs. But she wants to get back on the very strong field at Boston this year. I mean, very strong at London a week later, but Boston has got like 4 or 5, I think 4 previous women's champions in that field. And so it's going to be very strong competition on the women's side of Boston come April 15th. And she needs her confidence back up after 2 DNFs. Now, last year, it almost doesn't count. She was in this rain squall, 30, 40 mile an hour headwinds the entire way. I think almost all the East Africans dropped out of the race. I mean, they never experienced anything like that in training or racing before. And so it's almost like that doesn't count. But in 2017, it was a regular day, and she dropped out of that race too. So she needs, success breeds success, but the lack of success breeds itself as well. So you need to get on the right side again. You need to turn that corner and have a positive experience. So I think this is a very important race for her, not just physically, but psychologically.
And, man, James is just pouring it on right now. Mr. Ngandu has nobody in sight, is making his way basically in the last stretch here. He just hit mile 12, and so he's got about a mile to go at this point. And it is a very, very fast finish for this men's half marathon. There's basically one small grade hill, but again, he has been clipping off 440s. The guy's going to run anywhere between if he really ratchets it down, he could run 64 flat here, or 64 20, 15-ish. And so we saw Patrick Smythe try to go for the standard by himself last year, and obviously wasn't able to run that.
But 64-16 is what Patrick ran last year as a winning time.
Yep.
And you saw that James basically took the lead just before the 10K mark. And there's probably the 10-mile marker right there. Or no, that had maybe 20K rather.
Yeah, I think it was a mile to go
mile to
there
go sign
on that one. So he hits that at 59.50.
And here's that downhill.
And he gets just absolutely fly here this last mile. This is a fast finish for this half marathon.
And 59.50 at a mile to go, and then again he'll hit that 20K shortly. And straight downhill. In a moment we can cut to Joey Whalen, who, like Ngandu, there you see him all alone after about that 9-mile mark. He lost his friends that were running in the half marathon. So Whalen in a familiar position like from last year where he ran a majority of the Austin Marathon by himself. He'll have to do that again this year.
But he has slowed down a little bit.
There's Summerall. We saw Alan Summerall just flash across the screen, so maybe the split has not quite been made.
Yeah, and so Joey has slowed down a little bit. And to give you some perspective on the rest of the field, we have Patrick Rizzo, who is about 2 minutes. He was about 2 minutes behind at 15K. Jamison Mora, a 2:15 guy, he was about 2:33 behind at 15K. Will Christian and Michael Morris, they were 2:33 and 3:43 behind. So really, if there's a guy or two guys that could get Joey on this back half, and we talked to Jamison. He knows the last 6 miles are fast, right? We talked to him yesterday, and he said, I just want to get to 20 miles in one piece, and when I get to the last 6 miles, I want to just let one rip. And so 2.5 minutes, we've seen some leads falter. So 2.5 minutes is not that big.
No.
There's a lot of running left.
But then again, Joey Whalen, an experienced man, defending champion, that's a whole nother mindset when you're there to defend your title. I mean, that really pumps you up in your preparation as well as your race day performance. So Joey knows where he is, how he feels. The fact that he was leading those half marathoners just as much as they were leading him for the first 9 miles of the course told me that he's really feeling confident and full of running. And then he still looks very good. I don't know if he knows what the cushion is. He hasn't looked back once that we've seen.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be, of course, worrying about that at this juncture. With so much race to go, more than halfway to run. And shortly we can kick it back to the men's half. Camera on that as we will have a finisher in James Ngandu shortly. As you see, kind of the final turn, the straightaway there on Congress Avenue where we will finish just as the race started. Ngandu hit the 20K at 1:01:29, and we'll expect him at the finish line in about 2 minutes.
Yeah, and when we get to the finish, we'll try to shoot back, get James crossing the line and get a live interview with him, kind of talking about the course and so forth. And obviously we got Joey just running all solo, all alone. But again, he does have somebody very experienced behind him in Patrick Rizzo. So if there is somebody that could could run down Joey over the second half of the course, it would be Patrick Rizzo wearing the Hyperwear singlet today, representing Hyperwear, a local Austin company. And again, let's go back to Caroline Rotich in the women's half field, as she's still got and she's still got Patrick Gagan and Michael Ellinger, who look like they're having quite a bit of fun pulling Caroline too.
And Bill Bertrand on the right-hand side with the orange over black.
Yep.
But, Caroline's got a good sweat going, and she's taken along the opposite of Joey Whalen, who was with 3 guys who could have helped him, and he didn't really use them. They were using him as much as the other way around. But Caroline's been very smart about this, Lincoln, where she's really tucked in behind. She's never gone in front. She's just been using those guys as much as she possibly can, which is smart.
Yeah, I mean, an experienced racer, obviously, winner of the Boston Marathon. She knew she just needed to find a pace group, and that's exactly what she's done. We will toss it to the finish line for this men's Austin half marathon as James Ngandu has turned the corner and will shortly find himself at the finish line here. You can see the sprint is on. He's upped his cadence. Those arms are, you don't want to say flailing, but he's really going to every last reserve he has here.
1:04:22 and counting.
Here he will cross the line. Your winner of the 2019 men's Austin half marathon, James Ngandu, the 28-year-old. The streamers go unofficially 1:04:30. Ngandu lives up to the hype there and gets a nice victory. It's been a good start to 2019 for the Kenyan.
And whatever breeze there is was at his back for that final stretch.
Unbelievable. That was an awesome run from James Ngandu, running one of the faster, obviously with Patrick Smythe last year, but that was one of the better performances we've ever seen in Austin. Basically ran solo after about mile 3 or 4. Had Tim Reckers try to go out with him. A noble effort from Tim, but really it was the James Ngandu show this morning in the half.
Yeah, and then we can see since we saw that that Tim Rackers actually got passed for second place, the last checkpoint we saw in the men's half marathon. So that's as Gonzalo Parra has now moved into second place, and Mike Lowe and Ryan Miller and Alan Summerall is in fifth, and now Tim Rackers back in sixth place. Wow. And that just tells you, if you try to go for the win and stay with it, once you have a slump, it takes a while then for you to regather and get that second wind. And in the meantime, the guys who are just running a steady pace go right by you. That's what happened for Tim Rackers right in this race.
Yeah, and Tim came here, wanted to make some money, wanted to compete, probably did not want to enter the field and just kind of lay down. And I guess most of these guys put their pants on the same way, right, one leg at a time. So he thought he was had a good chance today, and he went for it, and things didn't work out. But you got to give a noble attempt for Tim going out for it.
No, but it was a strong effort. I mean, he made. Sometimes when you try to win, you pay a penalty when you don't. But a brave run for Tim Rackers. Gonzalo Parra, I think, finished in 105.37 in second place.
Yep. And for those watching at home, you may look at the app. I'm sure we will get that corrected with the correct result. But James Ngandu was our winner. Gonzalo Parra did finish second in 65.37. And there is Mike Lowe crossing the finish line in 66.40 for third place. Now in his new home of Austin, Texas, of New Zealand, the former University of Texas Mean Green finished about a minute behind Gonzalo and a minute and a half behind Mr. James Ngandu. And as we see here, Caroline Rotich, again on the fast downhill part of the course, just went by one of our hand cyclists. And again, Bill Bertrand, Michael Ellinger, Patrick Gagan, these guys are absolutely helping them out. There's Tim Rackers, our early contender, 67, about 20 is what he's going to be when he crosses the line. A noble attempt from Tim. He's going to actually finish in about sixth place. Ryan Miller, 67.04. Alan Summerall, 66.55. And so Alan ran about what he thought. And
another big hill on that on the women's half marathon, and now Caroline is starting to be dropped just a little bit by our three men, as that hill is really stern, head down, arms pumping all she can, but the men making a slight gap on her as they're just going to hit the 20K mark, I believe, right now.
That looked like it hit her like a ton of bricks there, and she's going to be happy to have completed that one. And this is quite the effort for Rotich. This looks like it's going to be a fantastic simulation of maybe what she'll see in Boston, as that course obviously is not easy as well. But man, this one is, she's going to be glad to have this effort over. Looks like it has definitely challenged her. And we did get an updated, corrected finish time there. James Ngandu, the official winner of the men's Austin half, 104.33. And in a moment, we'll chat with him, with Drew Butler down on near the finish line.
Look at that big smile on Caroline's face. She went up the hill on Enfield in 15th, which is one of the gnarliest hills we have in Austin. She got down to the other side, and you can just, she is so happy. It looks like she's just relieved that she got through a race healthy. She's going to finish one, and she knows that she's really fit heading into Boston.
Kind of the heartbreak hill of the half marathon here in Austin. And, it was a punishing hill, but that's good. This is exactly what you need in preparation for your marathon. You need to be tested. And to me, it doesn't do you that much good to run on a dead flat course and just go in rhythm if you're going to go run a hilly course later on for your marathon.
Right.
You want to really test yourself on something similar where you got to go ups and downs. So you got to know how to shift those gears.
People are cheering for her, and you can tell she did a look back because she was excited. I guess somebody knew her name.
Well, or she kept saying, "Where's that camera going?" We saw that remember that back in 1994, I believe, at the New York City Marathon, where Herman Silva followed the motorcycle in the last mile of the race, and the cop had to tell him, "Oh, you're missing the course. Turn back around."
So while we still negotiate the women's half, we'll toss it down to Drew Butler with our men's half winner, James Ngandu, who's standing by.
We are almost 1 hour, 10 minutes in. We've got another fantastic finisher finding his way towards that finish line right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, I'm happy to be here with the men's half marathon race winner, James Ngandu. James, pretty dominant performance from start to finish. What was it like to be out so early by yourself and pretty much run a solo race?
We started off slow, but we picked up the pace toward the third or fourth mile, and I felt good, so we just kept going.
That's awesome.
Awesome. So I know you recently ran a personal best at the Houston Half Marathon. How'd you feel coming off that race, and did that have any effect on your performance today at all?
Yeah, I don't think it has much effect. Like after that, I got sick, and I've been off for quite some time. But for the last couple of days, I've been feeling good. So I think, yeah, it has some effect because like this one, I could feel like we are not at the end. We are somewhere, but not like we haven't pushed to the wall. Yep.
Tell us about some of your future race plans. You've run some really quick half marathons now and some different courses. Do you have a marathon in your future?
Yes, I'm planning to switch to marathon maybe later. I mean, by the end of the year, I'm planning by November maybe around one marathon, and then I'll see how it goes.
Awesome. Well, congrats on the race today. Excellent job. And we've got your race winner, James Gondu.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, so that was Drew Butler with our men's half marathon champion, James Ngandu. He lives up to his billing, and as we're checking in now with the women's full marathon, as we've kind of highlighted throughout this race, Heather Lyberg is there on the right side of your screen. She's entered in the elite field, so eligible for the prize money of the win. Mary Acor on the left side of your screen, who's actually looks like she has a step on Lyberg there. She hasn't entered into the elite side of things here, kind of just coming in late. So she's not eligible to pick up the prize money here, but she's given Heather kind of a run for her money here. So interesting dynamic as both these ladies, they're racing and they're going for the win, but Acor not there on the elite side of things as we pick up some more finishers on the men's side of things in the half marathon, and shortly we will have Caroline Rotich closing things up on the women's half. So many things going down in this field, but just to give you an update of what's happening on the women's side of things in the full marathon.
Yeah, I mean, it is, again, we talked about this a few times, but it is quite an interesting paradigm for Heather that she has to navigate this over the course of 26 miles, which I can't imagine is a lot of fun. It's more fun to talk about navigating 26 miles than it is to actually do it.
Then again, there's any number of scenarios, but it could be actually helpful that Mary Acor is there running side by side if they're sharing a similar pace as opposed to somebody being pulled along faster than they want to go. But it seems to me that they're running the same paces now. We see on one of our side cameras, and we can bring it up full screen, that there's Caroline Rotich making that final turn, wind to her back, 73 minutes and 6 seconds on the clock as she heads toward victory here at the Austin Half Marathon.
And then she'll shortly approach the line. As you can see, a great effort for her, and she will finish up here in about 73:20, 73:21-ish, and we'll add just probably a few ticks there from their starting time, but a nice effort for the former Boston Marathon champion, and she'll run again in the 2019 version coming up in April. So we will chat with Caroline shortly, but in a moment, looks like we'll have another chat with our second place winner, Gonzalez Parra. But let's toss it down to Drew Butler, who's standing by with Gonzalo Parra and, of course, Leo Manzano on the finish line.
All right, I'm here with men's second place finisher, Gonzalo Parra. Gonzalo, tell us about how the race went for you today. You had a great, strong finish. How was it out there for you?
Me sentí muy fuerte, la verdad es que es mi debut dentro de aquí en correr en Estados Unidos. Es mi cuarto maratón. Sin embargo, es la primera vez que me preparo específicamente bien para correr esta distancia. Y excelente, me sentí muy fuerte durante toda la carrera, con algunas por ahí subidas que obviamente hacen que el ritmo baje poquito, pero yo venía por una meta, y cuando vi que iba a lograrla llegando a la meta, cerré todo lo que tenía.
So pretty much what Gonzalo said is this is his debut in the half marathon. It was a very strong race. He was really excited to be here in Austin. And towards the finish, he noticed and he felt really good, and so he decided to close and give it all his best.
Awesome. So you chose the Austin Half Marathon for your debut. Why did you choose Austin, and what are some of your future race plans?
Ese que escogiste es el medio maratón de Austin para debutar. ¿Por qué escogiste a Austin y cuáles son tus planes en el futuro? Sí, yo tengo ahorita, primero que nada mi mayor plan ahorita es calificar al Mundial de universidades. Entonces me piden una marca mínima. Este medio maratón de Austin se me acomodaba perfecto en las fechas. Además de que, bueno, aquí conozco a un gran amigo que es Leo Manzano. Y bueno, qué mejor que venir a debutar aquí en uno de los maratones más bonitos, en las ciudades más bonitas de Estados Unidos.
So he's very excited to be in Austin. He mentions that the reason why he came to Austin was he knew this was a great city, and on top of that, it fit very well with his training schedule. He was also looking to qualify for the World University Games, and he fell short, slightly short. Although he said he felt really good and ran a good time.
Well, fantastic run, Gonzalo. I'm here with Gonzalo Parra, second place finisher, and former Olympic silver medalist Leo the Lion Manzano. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Sarah Pease out of Indianapolis, Indiana, joining us.
So that was Drew standing by with Gonzalo Parra, and again with Leo Manzano there, of course, the namesake for that Manzano mile. And we cut to the women's race. Again, we've highlighted earlier Heather Lyberg, the only entrant up front there in the actual elite field, but she's being challenged and kind of paced by Mary Acor, who we've talked about her kind of dotted history. She's been a former banned athlete for a doping history, so kind of spotted history there, and
they're around about
one there.
And they're running about 6:10 marathon pace per mile, which is around just 2:40. So that's the time that Heather Lyberg is on, and that's right in line with what she's been doing, consistently over her career. She's run a total of 14 marathons. Her personal best 2:34.09 back in Twin Cities in 2014, but in 2018 she was 9th in Los Angeles in March in 2:38.30. She was 8th in Grandma's at 2:37.41, then 8th at Twin Cities in 2:42.05, and then 27th at Cal International in December in 2:38.27. So bing, bing, bang, boom. She's just under 240, very consistently. And the same thing in 2017, 2016. I mean, she's just, and you can see by that stroke that she's got how consistent she is. I mean, she doesn't look like someone, Parra, who can, downshift and really get up on those hips and sprint, but she can probably pull through a 50K in the same pace she's running this marathon.
Yeah, absolutely. And she looks, again, very good. She's on a part of the course right now that is just nice, flat. It's not really rolling. So she's for someone that is strong and has run so many of these marathons, it is very nice for her to be on a flat section of this course where she's not having to really grind that hard. And again, she's got Mary with her, so she's got another human with her.
Yeah, very helpful. Now she's got the 3 kids, 9, 12, and 18 years of age. She's a second grade teacher. Lots of training, as you would expect, in Helena, Montana in the wintertime on a treadmill. I mean, I was checking the weather the other day. It was -2, so it's just blisteringly cold in Helena, Montana. Didn't start professional running till age 35, So it's just amazing how many marathons she's tucked into that relatively short career. Northwest College in Wyoming, she began running after having her first kid.
Yeah, oh, wow.
And it was just a way to lose weight, get fit. Next thing you know, oh my goodness, I've got talent.
Yeah, and we will do a little quick recap here of what happened in the women's half here, and I'll let Tony kind of go over that. And
Caroline Rotich in 1:13.25, 5:36 per mile average. That's a new course record here at the Austin Half. Nicole Roberts from Great Britain, training in Albuquerque, New Mexico, came in to take second place in 1:16.17. Sarah Pease in third place, just 8 seconds behind. And Jocelyn Todd, who was second last year, finishes fourth this year in 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 16 seconds.
Yeah, and it's very exciting to see Sarah Pease in third place. I've personally been very good friends with her husband for 12, 13 years. I was at their wedding over New Year's Eve in Louisville, so quite a good 6 weeks for Sarah and Carl Stones. And they've and obviously now Sarah will go back, and I guess she'll be buying dinner this week for them too. And fantastic performance from Sarah.
I don't know. I thought it was purple when I saw it.
So we will toss it down to the course with another finish line interview. Drew Butler is with our women's champion and course record holder, Caroline Rotich. So down to those two.
All right, I'm here with Caroline Rotich, the women's half marathon winner. Caroline, you're a former Boston Marathon champ. How does it feel to get back to the winner's circle?
It's actually feel really good after winning. Boston has a couple issues with the injuries here and there, and it feels good to be out here and running without feeling pain and being able to run really good with a lot of training for marathon coming up in April. So
you were dominant today, looked really good. Which marathon will you be running in April, and what are your expectations for that race?
I'm going to run Boston Marathon in April, and that's kind of like one of goals right now, and that's why I'm kind of like putting more mileage and looking forward to it, and I'm kind of excited about it.
Well, you're based out of Santa Fe, and you came here for the race today. What made you choose the Austin Half Marathon?
Actually, I train in Santa Fe, and we kind of go through some races with my coach and manager, and the timing of where I am right now and putting more mileage was kind of perfect, being in warm weather and kind of getting out there and doing some kind of checkup.
Well, great performance today from Caroline Rotich, your women's half marathon champion at the 2019 Austin Half Marathon. Caroline, good luck with the rest of your season.
Thank you, and so very happy to be racing here and have a lot of people cheering me out there in the cause, so it's really good.
So much.
Thank you.
So we are back with the women's leaders of the marathon, and that again was the women's new course record holder, Caroline Rotich, there, winning in 73:25, a new official course record here in Austin. But we toss it to the men's marathon, which is once again for the second year in a row, the Joey Whalen show. We'll go split screen here. He's running quite a quick tempo, way faster than what he was clocking last year on about 2:14 mid to 2:14:40 pace, which would be the fastest time in a number of years. This course hasn't seen that since, well, about 2014, but that mark of 2:14:17 was wiped out. So we really haven't seen the 2:14s in over a decade here in Austin.
Well, this is a 28-year-old man from Spring Branch, Texas. He's only run 2 marathons, though, Lincoln. I mean, he won here in Austin at 2:31. That was off a rough positive split of 1:12 and then 1:19 for the second half. And then he went to Duluth for the Grandma's Marathon last June and ran 2:16:30, got 7th place, and also qualified at the A standard for the Olympic trials.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to go to Drew Butler, who is on the finish line right now with Nicole Roberts, our second place in the women's half marathon.
All right, I'm here with Nicole Roberts, who finished second today. Nicole is a UK athlete based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. What was your experience like today in the half marathon, and how do you feel about your performance?
I'm actually really pleased with my performance. The time wasn't quite as quick as I wanted to. The pace that I was with the girls was quite erratic, so that was kind of hard work, but felt pretty good in the end.
So I know you mentioned yesterday you didn't know a ton about the course. Did it meet your expectations? Was it challenging? Tell us a little bit about what it was like just kind of going in and experiencing the race as it was.
Just before the start, some of the guys explained how the course was going to go, that the first 5K was going to be pretty hilly, so I thought I'll kind of chill in the first 5K and then see what it was going to look like. The last 2 hills were pretty tough, but otherwise it was really nice. The middle of the course was kind of down and rolling, so it was actually really nice in the end.
Awesome. So great performance today, second in the half marathon. Where does this set you up for the rest of your season, and what are some of your plans for your next races?
I'm looking to go outdoors in the next couple of months. I do steeplechase on the track, so I'm looking to travel around, maybe hit California for my first couple of steeples, and then head over to England for a few there as well.
And will you be participating in the UK Outdoor Championships this year?
Possibly. I'll see how the start of the season goes. If I'm close to the time, I'll definitely hit the champs. If not, I don't know, we'll kind of reevaluate. I might stay in America and try and hit some quicker races here as well.
Well, we've got Nicole Roberts, women's second place. Great performance today, Nicole, and thanks for coming out to Austin.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, that's Nicole Roberts with our Drew Butler after her second place finish. I'm sure she was pleased with that. And we can see the finish line downtown right now as more people stream across that half marathon finish line. Yep. As we have solo performances going. Well, we have a race sort of in the women's marathon, and Joey Whalen defending his title with over 3-minute lead as we hit the 1 hour and 26-minute mark in the marathon.
Yep, and we're going to maybe talk a little bit more about Nicole. Tony did a sit down with her yesterday, and we'll get a little split screen going here of a good interview with quite an interesting person who has a master's degree and from England, and we'll kind of elaborate a little bit more about her story here.
So we were just looking at races to train for, because I'm preparing for outdoor season right now, so I actually do steeplechase on the track. So I was just looking to kind of build my base, and I thought Austin would be a good one to do.
You've never run the Austin Half Marathon before?
No.
Have you read about it? You know what the course is like? How have you prepared for this?
I haven't really read that much about it. In terms of halves, I just kind of like to go out there and see kind of what happens. But I've heard the first 5K is really hard, and then it kind of levels out, and then there's like one kind of big hill at the end.
And how does that strike you from a course standpoint?
I'm kind of excited. Once you get through once you settled into the race, I think the middle bit will be really nice. So it's just kind of getting stuck in for the first the first kind of 5K that's uphill. So powering through that and then relaxing into the race.
Once again, we have two things going on. Nicole Roberts, she got a master's degree in sports administration, which she got 3 years ago. We got 2 or 3 other PhDs in the field as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an amazingly, not just an eclectic, but a very bright crowd of athletes here in Austin this year, both the half marathon and the marathon. Articulate, smart, dedicated to both their education and to their running. Really, quite a group of people. Very impressive.
Yeah, and so when William Dyson from High Five Events was putting together this elite field, I guess the only thing he was really considering was your educational background, because every single person here has a master's or a PhD. Alan Summerall, who was 3rd or 4th in the men's half, has a combined PhD and JD. And so, again, we see Joey Whelan here, another really smart University of Syracuse grad, participated on 4 teams in the NCAA, coached by Chris Fox in college, now representing Stoughton Racing.
You talk about a great program that Chris Fox made of Syracuse, by bringing back a Moribund program, and he's done a great job. Chris, one of the great coaches in America.
Yep. And so one of the we will talk about one of the really cool things outside of the elites that have been running here today. We have a fantastic story. Tony Revis and Liz, our on-course personality, they did a fantastic interview yesterday with Colleen Everett, who's a local Austin runner who is running her first race in multiple years. And I'll kind of let Tony cue it up a little bit, and we will then cut to a great interview with an awesome person.
Ran the half marathon, 26 years of age, represents raw running, and it's we had a fascinating person who overcoming enormous challenges in life. Let's listen.
About a year ago, I had migraines that had lasted about 2 months. Around this time, it had been 2 months, and then eventually I had an abnormal MRI, and then that led to a hospital stay, which then led to like lumbar puncture and all this stuff. Further down the line, got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And then after that, they found on my MRIs, they found a nodule on my thyroid, which then in April was diagnosed as cancer. And so then I had surgery after that. And then, yeah, from there I've just been kind of figuring it all out. It had been going pretty well until about October. I had my first flare, which is what they call kind of like a relapse, where you start to become really symptomatic again. And I lost my vision, and I lost feeling in the whole left side of my body. And so I ended up back in the hospital, went through a course of steroids. And at that time, we determined that the therapy I was currently on was no longer working. And so we've been in the process of switching, which I started a new one in December. And so we've been on a second therapy. But with all of that, I was tried to run as much as possible, sometimes against better judgment. I had a few incidences, one at Raw, where I ran into a pole and ended up with a black eye. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of been just a journey, and I've learned that the only limits I have are ones that I put on myself. And so I just got through the application process. February 1st was match day in Texas, and so I am planning to go to Texas Tech for med school next year. I don't know, I realized that it doesn't have to limit my life and what I do, and so I'm just taking it one day at a time from there.
So Colleen finished the race in 1:29.19. Of course, she was a college runner in Iowa and trains with her husband Daniel. But what a story she has to tell, Para. I mean, the fact that life-threatening illnesses, and yet in running, a vessel which will hold any problem you may have and have room for even more than that. So that's her quiet time. That's where she finds peace and fulfillment. If anyone wants to know what running means in people's lives, Colleen's a great story to listen to.
Yeah, and if we cut over there to where the women's have cameras, we actually see Will Nation, Rory Tunningly, and Brian Morton, our three men that were going to pace guys some women at 2:45 pace. And we can see them kind of just holding along, but they have no women with them.
Pacing men, right.
And so they're pacing men. But again, just an awesome story that three guys locally would step up. And again, it's just so cool to see people that have no reason. There's no incentive.
Well, there's
no
one woman
financial
with them.
incentive.
There
is
one
woman
with them.
Oh,
but there's a generosity of spirit within a running community. No matter where you go in the world, I've always said, no matter what else we don't have in common, if you are a runner, you've got more than enough in common to bleed through all the other things that you don't have in common, because there's a great universality in this sport, because it's not about luck. It's how much you put in is what you get out. And right now we've got Rory and Will helping lead the way. And
they have it's Anita Perez.
Anita Perez, sure.
And so she's in second place in the marathon actually right now, right, discounting Mary Agor. So Anita's in second. She's about a minute and a half behind Heather. Again, we have no clue what will happen over the last 8, 9, 10 miles here, but what we do know is that Anita, provided that she can stay with this pack, is going to be carried to 2:45.
37 years of age, out of San Antonio. She's run a total of 5 marathons. Her best so far was just last year in June at Grandma's at 2:39.33, where she got 11th place. She was third last year here at the Austin Half in 79.35, and then third at the Dallas Half in December in 77.04.
Yep. And we'll go back to Rory, Will, and Brian Morton, and we'll cut into a nice little clip of our sit down with them yesterday, where they talk about why they did this, why they decided to volunteer their bodies for 2 hours and 45 minutes with the Omelet Tree Track Club.
Pacing's a whole different matter than just floating around at 2:45. There's pressure.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to bring it up and tighten it anymore, tighten the screw down, but there's pressure. It's not running the time, it's how you run the time, right?
Right.
So talk about process.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like, since we're pacing, we want to help them, we want to take the pressure off them. So I think having reached the men's standard, we can run the 2:45 pace fairly comfortably. So, we want to make sure that, it's as simple as possible for them. We don't want them to have to worry about splits, kind of let them turn their brains off and, really just focus in on us and try to get through as fast as possible,
So Brian was, I think, initially contacted, and he's paced before for the race, but I think this is the first time we've had a real group and like a field that was fast enough to go for the standards. So I think it's a really exciting year for the Austin Marathon, and just to be able to be a part of that, I think it's going to be really cool, because it's always special to help people achieve a big lofty goal like that.
All right, so we'll toss it here to our 2:45 pace group, which we just chatted with. But in a moment here, we're going to have Drew Butler standing on the course there with Colleen Everett, who just finished up in the women's half. A great story with her health battles and still continuing to run, so we'll chat with her now.
We've got Dan Fitzgerald out of Austin cruising across. Dan Orth out of San Antonio, Justin Birmingham.
All right, so I'm here with Colleen Everett, former Iowa State runner. First and foremost, Colleen, how was the race today?
It was good. It was a lot of fun. Great crowds, great people. It was good. Loved it.
So, Colleen, you have had some trials and tribulations over the last year. Without getting into it too much, because you're kind of in the celebratory post-race mode, tell us a little bit about some of the things you've gone through to get you here to the finish line today.
Well, actually, a year ago today, I found out that I had multiple sclerosis. So this was a nice little way to celebrate my 1 year anniversary of diagnosis. But since then I've had surgery to remove my thyroid, and I've been in the hospital twice. I lost feeling on the left side of my body, but I've been lucky to have a great support group and Raw and all the wonderful people who have helped me along the way. So yeah, I get to just come out and enjoy what I love to do.
So when we talked to you yesterday, one of the things you mentioned was that running has become kind of a source of therapy for you and something that's let you kind of escape from some of the troubles you've been going through with your health. What would you say to someone who's watching today, who's maybe thinking about using running as a therapy to help them overcome some adversity that they're facing?
Well, it's always constant. I think that's the one thing that I've enjoyed about it, is that I was a runner before diagnosis, and I still am, and so it's been consistent throughout. Every hard day, going out for a run always made me feel better, even if I couldn't feel the left side of my body or whatnot. It was a place for me to find just peace and quiet, work through some things. So I think it's a great outlet for anybody. Makes you feel good. Runner's high is a real thing. So, yeah.
So I know this sets you up for your marathon that you're going to be doing in about a month and a half, but tell us about your plans for the fall. You've gotten into medical school, right?
That is correct. I am starting at Texas Tech in July, so we'll be moving down to El Paso around June. Other than the marathon in April, we're biking the MS 150, and other than that, I have no plans. Just kind of enjoy life, see what time I have once I start school.
Well, Colleen, congratulations. Fantastic run today and really inspiring story.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Jerry Smith, Trisha Elzondo.
All right, so that was Drew Butler with Colleen Everett, who completed the half marathon, dealing with some tough health battles, but really a motivational story for her, and wish her the best. But we will check in with our men's leader in the full marathon. He's continuing to click off splits right in the 2:14 range. Joey Whalen, our defending champion, looks like he's well on his way to doing that. Of course, several miles ahead of him, but man, he looks fit, and a guy that could set a PR here today.
2:16:30. That's when you ran at Grandma's last year. Got top 10 finish there. But Power, go into that workout he did, his last hard workout on the course leading into this race. Because right now he's running around 5:15 per mile pace average through to this. But he ran a workout where he had some splits which were much quicker than that.
Yeah, so he did a 22 miler that we've got word of at 5. He averaged 5:20 pace. But in the middle of this workout, he split off 5:05, 5:05, 5:06, 5:05, 5:06, 5:07, 5:06, 5:08. And so you want to talk about a metronome, you're watching a metronome. He knows his pace, he knows his body, but most importantly, he knows the course, right? So he knows exactly what he needs to do, what parts of the course he needs to attack. He's a defending champion. I don't expect Joey to relent, and in fact, his lead has grown from 2.5 minutes at 20K to 3.5 minutes at 25K. So he's put a minute on the field. He's feeling good, and he's done workouts where he just splits off the same mile splits over and over and over.
And look at those quads, too. bomber quads to handle these hills both up and down.
So we will toss it down into the course. Drew Butler with Kim Overton of Spy Belt.
O'Connell, Danny LeBourgeois coming across that finish line, Dennis Lozano, Simon Van Lanvik.
I'm here with Kim Overton, the founder of Spy Belt. Spy Belt's a sponsor of the Austin Marathon, and you guys actually got your start at the Austin Marathon back in 2007. Can you tell us a little bit about your company and how you guys got going here in Austin?
Yeah, we did. I'm from here, and 2007 is when I launched my belt. I thought of it one day. I was out on a beautiful hike and bike trail. I needed a place to hold my keys and my phone, and I thought of Spy Belt. And Paul Carosa, that a lot of the running industry knows about, gave me my first opportunity at the Austin Marathon Expo 2007. So this event is officially our birthday. It's our anniversary, and we just love being here.
That's so awesome. So can you tell us some more about what Spy Belt is as a product? I know a lot of the runners out here today are definitely wearing them, but let everyone know what a Spy Belt is and what you guys do.
Sure. Well, SPY stands for small personal item belt, right? So we're the first ones to come out with these really cool, smaller, specific for holding a small item, and it stays really tight. So I'm wearing one right now. The whole idea is that it stays tight to your body, and when there's nothing in it or you have a little item in it, it collapses like that, almost magic. So when I first came out with it and had it on display, folks were like, yeah, that thing looks cool, but that's not going to hold my phone. And that's always been the biggest surprise when people see it. I'm like, well, give me your phone, let me show you. And they put their phone in it, and they're like, what? That thing expands. And so it took off. Of course, Austin embraced us and the running community here, and then we slowly just took off around the country, and now we are in over 35 countries, international distribution, and when I travel, I always see one on a runner. It's just awesome, and it all started here. What a great place to launch a running product, and it's been an amazing experience the whole time having this product. It sells itself, you know, it works, and it's convenient, and people tell their friends. About 6 years ago, we gave 17,000 Spy Belts out at the marathon in the swag bag, and that was one of the best marketing events we ever did. To this day, I still hear from people who have their belt from that event, and they tell their friends, and they tell their friends. So it's just, I mean, I'm right where I want to be, in the community I want to be in, and you know, working with the product I want to be, and our fans are amazing, and this event is so special for us too. So we love being a sponsor. It just makes perfect sense for us to be here.
So I know when I talked to you yesterday, I mentioned that I sold them in New Hampshire, so they've definitely made it all over the place. You guys have obviously grown, and Austin's embraced you. What sort of emotions does it bring up when you see an athlete running with one of your belts as they're working to accomplish their goals today in the half marathon or the marathon?
It's going to sound corny as heck, but I get teary-eyed. Just walking here, I see people wearing it. Every time I'm in Austin and I see someone wearing a belt, I introduce myself. You know, there's that moment of like, who's this girl approaching me? You know, and then I'm like, how do you like your belt? I'm the inventor, and people light up. And the product has evolved because of fan-based feedback. People email us, or they call us, and they say, can you make it bigger? And of course, as the phones get bigger, right there by the airport where we make them by hand, we make that pocket a little bit bigger, and we incorporate feedback immediately, and it's because of the people and their feedback and how they love the product. But it makes me feel so good. It's like standing out there at our cheer station, watching the people go by. It's so heartwarming. I can't even put it into words, but I approach people every time I see them. And in fact, if you see me out, I give people a card and say, email me, I will send you one for free. It's just like my gift back to you for believing in our product. And it's that just genuine customer experience and connection, I believe, that we have with the community that has helped our product grow.
Well, Kim, it's folks like you that make the Austin Marathon and the Austin running community special. So thanks so much for being out here, and go check out Spy Belt.
All right, thanks, Drew.
All right, so that was Drew Butler with Kim Overton of Spy Belt, and we're back on the course. We have our second place runner in the women's marathon at the moment, Anita Perez, local Texas runner, and she is she's been left behind by the 2:45 group, but as we were talking about off air, Heather Lyberg has a nice advantage on her, but went out a little aggressively, and a lot of race still, a lot of miles to cover here, so this one not completely over on the women's side yet.
No, then the question is, did Anita stretch herself to stay with that 2:45 group in order to get that B Olympic trials qualifying standard, and now she's going to pay the penalty in the second half of this race? Or is she just letting them go, and she still will then regather and have some strength in the final sections of the race to try to take down Lyberg? But both of these, Lyberg's 39, Anita Perez is 37 years of age. Anita's run 5 marathons with the best last year of 2:39:33. They're very similar in their recent years running. But there's Heather Lyberg, who is now she's second place in the race behind Mary Acor, who's not an official. I mean, she's entered the race, but she's not entered the elite athlete division, and so she's not eligible for prize money. And that's why we're staying with our split screen now of 1 and 2 in the invitational elite competition, with Lyberg in the lead, number 8, and Anita Perez in second place. And what's the gap right now, Para?
Yeah, the gap is 2 minutes, but Anita Perez at about 20K was about 2.5 minutes. So she's made it 30 seconds up in about 8K, 7K, about 5 miles. And so what you'll see right now is Anita, who had the benefit of running with Will, Brian, and Rory for a long period of time, she's off the gap a little bit, but she can see them. So she knows what 2:45 pace looks like. Mm-hmm. She knows how far away it's getting from her. But as long as she can use them as a gauge for the next 4, 5, 6 miles, she can just get to mile 21, 22, at the last flat part of this course and really attack. And if Heather falls apart or if Heather starts to come back to her, she's going to be in striking distance on the fastest part of the course.
And all Heather has to look in front of her is Mary Acor, who's now about 10 seconds in front of her or so. But other than that, up the road, there's probably just nothing but open road. So she, hasn't been here in Austin before on the marathon course, and so she's kind of flying blind just a little bit. So there's still plenty that can happen in the second half. And of course, not only does the course roll here in Austin, but the emotions also on a roller coaster, that old good patch, bad patch. Both of these are very experienced marathoners, so they know how to handle the low points in the course emotionally, not to get too down, but also if you're really running well, you don't get too up as well. You try to just maintain this even keel as much as you possibly can. The marathon is every bit as a contest of wills as it is the physical aspect of the game.
Yep, and we can actually see Jamison Mora, our second place in the men's full marathon right now. And Jamison, Tony, and Liz, our on-course personality, they got to spend some time with Jamison yesterday, the 35-year-old who just moved to Mammoth Lakes. He's about 3 minutes, and he's probably somewhere around 3.5 minutes behind Joey. But Jamison's got a fascinating story that Tony will tell us about.
Yeah, so, he was from 50. He went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, Northern California, and it's been 15 years there. And a couple of months ago, moved up to Mammoth Lakes, California, just in time for the 10 feet of snow. So a beautiful chance. This is his first year at the Austin Marathon. And he was looking for a February race once again because it coincides with 2020 and the Olympic trials at Atlanta on a hilly course in February. And it sets him up perfectly. We had a chance to talk with him yesterday, hoping I have given everything away. Let's listen to Mr. Jamison Mora.
Well, my goal for this race is I really set pretty low expectations going into this one because it like I said, all those injuries, it's I get these big ideas and then it ends up being a scratch from the race. So this one, I wanted to just get to the line healthy, and I think I've done that. And then I'm going to see how the other runners go out. I don't really flat stretch between mile 19 and the last mile, so I'm hoping to save some gas and really press in the final 7 miles. But then there is a big hill, looks like a pretty nice steep hill in the very last mile, so it'll be flat, try to make up some ground or hopefully put some ground on who's ever behind me and then carry it through up that last hill.
Well, Jamison was been plagued by injuries the last several years, and he couldn't string some good weeks together. He was telling us he would run 110, 120-mile week, and then the next week it'd be 10. So, I mean, that's not quite the range you're looking for. So what he's done the last 6 months, he's cut back to between 65 miles a week during cross-country season, then bumped up to 80 miles a week. So there's less mileage, but he's getting his main effort still in. So he's still doing his 20 to 22 miler at the pace he needs at the end for marathon Pete's. Plus, he's doing his mile repeats. He ran a 65-50 half marathon in Houston 4 weeks ago, and that's his best half marathon in 4 or 5 years. And even with fewer miles, he said I'm 80% fit, but 100% healthy. And as we all know, the number one goal of every runner is to get to the starting line healthy, because you can try to put that extra little workout in at the end, and it screws your whole day up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see Bill Bertrand, who helped out with Caroline Rotich's pacing for the whole first half, and Michael Ellinger. Just a little update on them. They're clipping off 5:42 miles, and they're running together still, again, with Patrick Gogan. So they formed a little pack of 3, and we got to spend a little bit of time yesterday, again, with Patrick Rizzo and Michael Morris, who are 4th and 5th currently in the race. They're also clipping off 540 miles, kind of on pace for 222, 223, which Mr. Rizzo has run a lot of those in his days. From between 213 and 225, he's probably run the whole gamut. And Michael Morris is new to the sport, so they're running together. We see we'll get a clip of them way later down the line here, but they're both good stories.
Just to show you Patrick Rizzo, he one time was with the Hanson's Running Club, and now he's running with Hyper Sportswear.
Hyper Sportswear, yep.
And he's 35 years old. He's run 18 marathons. His PR came back in 2012 in Houston at 2:13:42. He debuted in 2006 in Chicago at 2 hours 20 flat. But last year he ran Chicago in 2:26:29 for 56th place. So, he's had a roller coaster, but he's got himself back on par. Let's hear what Patrick had to say to us yesterday down along the river.
Over the course of such a long career, what are some of the things that have motivated you to stick with it and keep going?
You always have to have a goal. So for me, the goal initially, when I first started this back in 2006, my goal was to qualify for one Olympic trial. And after that, I wound up running a personal best at the 2008 trials in New York City. Kept going, and I thought, I could probably do even better than this. Wound up another year after that, ran a 2:15, and I thought, now this is actually something that's somewhat viable. 2 years after that, it wind up running 2:13 at the next Olympic trial in Houston, thinking, all right, this is really actually fun. Success is fun, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. Success is fun. So that's really what's kept me going, is success. And now, I'm in my mid-30s. I'm not the spring chicken out here, but I'm the guy that brings hopefully some experience to the race.
So you are, of course, going out to be competitive, but you also said you're having fun. As more of a veteran in the running community, is there any advice you'd like to give to some of the new runners?
Yeah, don't live like a monk. Enjoy what you're doing. It's really the key to being successful. I think that goes with anything, not just with running, but if you're enjoying yourself, you're going to find a way to be successful at it. And if you're absolutely miserable, you are going to fail, regardless how great you are. So enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy the process. The training, some of my best memories are training runs. Some of the best bonds that I've forged, people in my wedding, people in my life, are people that I've gone out there and sacrificed my time with, put a lot of effort in with, and those are the people I have such strong bonds with. We would do anything for each other before we even ask why.
So, have you ever run this race before? If not, why 2019?
I have run it before. I ran it last year with my sister. I kind of was helping her pace and try to qualify for Boston. And then this year I decided to do some serious training, get ready for it, and really see what I could do. I try to play out every scenario in my head. I've done that for a long time. It's something that's helped me a lot. What happens if I'm in the lead? What happens if I'm in last place? If I'm in the middle of the pack? I try to play every scenario out of my head and think about, what do I do? How do I respond? How do I react? And how do I take on that challenge? And just being prepared in that sense mentally helps me do it and carry it out in the race normally. So that's kind of my goal, is just, I've thought about every scenario, And whenever race day comes and the gun goes off, hopefully I'm prepared for it. I coach at San Marcos High School, the Running Rattlers, and I fell out of love in the running aspect for a while with it, and being around them helped me kind of find it again, seeing their determination, seeing what they're willing to do. And it's funny, I always say to be a runner, you either have to be really smart, you have to be really dumb. And so seeing these kids that just will tackle anything fearlessly, any workout I throw at them, they'll just tackle it without any question. This is what he wants us to do. This is what we're going to do. And it made me realize that's what I needed to do. I needed to be fearless in my running. And so it took me a while to get back into it, but being with them and seeing the excitement that they have, and whenever they run their best races or they do something new in running for the first time, knowing that I contributed to that in the smallest bit. I don't think I have a big part in it, but a small bit of it. It's been the most fulfilling thing I've ever been able to do. All the success I've had as a runner hasn't even come close to what I've had in the few years as a coach.
Well, that was Michael Slim Morris here in Austin, a San Marcos teacher, and it was interesting how I was a teacher for a year before I got into broadcasting. Actually, taught at the same school that Emily Sisson went to back in St. Louis, Parkway Central High School. And when they changed the name from the library to the Learning Resource Center, I said, I think we're on the wrong track here. I need to move. So I moved to Boston, got into broadcasting and marathoning. But being a teacher and being able to shape those lives and see those eager young minds, I mean, he's a perfect kind of guy to be a teacher, and you see a lot of that. I mean, Bill Rogers, the great four-time Boston and New York City marathon champion, was a special ed teacher before he, again, the principal asked him one time, he had already won the Boston Marathon, set the American record, and he would run during lunchtime, and the principal said, is that really necessary? He says, yes, it is. And so I quit. And he became a full-time runner at that particular point. But you see a lot of people in the education trade using their time as best they can to also be an athlete. And Michael Morris is doing that, and he's running in about 4th or 5th place right now with the marathon today.
You can't help but get the energy of high schoolers kind of rub off on you when you're in that environment. And we tossing up on the screen now our charity chasers splits. Lance Armstrong currently trying to pick off as many runners as he can to pick up every dollar for charity that he can. And Paris, you can give us an update on the pace he's running.
Yes, he started out, you can see on the screen there, he started out a little slower, went out in 7:40 pace.
Smart man.
And has started to really ratchet it down, though. He came through the halfway point at 6:52 pace, and so he is 132 at halfway, on pace for 3:05. He's going for sub 3. It's pretty obvious at this point what he's going to try to do here. And maybe we could have Lincoln talk about some of the charities that Lance actually will be supporting today in all these various aid stations. We saw one earlier with Meg Frosto and our on-course personality Liz, and maybe we can talk about some of the other ones.
Yeah, so as he passes through, we spoke with Meg from Back the Track. We have Camp Keesum for the University of Texas, the Parks Foundation, obviously, as well. So a lot of great charities being represented here, and that's such a great thing about bringing the community together and really supporting the community is what little things like what Lance Armstrong is doing there really helps these societies and these charities gain exposure and obviously gain some profit as well.
And one of the things you notice by looking at his splits from the start on, I mean, he was averaging 7:41 for the first 5 kilometers. He's got to weave through all these other people. I mean, he's not just hitting a nice stride. He's trying to find some open air to run in. And so the minute you could tell, 7:41 per mile average of the first 5K, then 7:02, then 6:51, then 6:44. And the more the road opens, the more his stride opens as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And one last note on that, the charity chaser, the Moody Foundation announced a couple days ago that they were going to match every donation to each unique charity up to $10,000 as well. So that's 28 charities. I mean, you can do the math on how much and what a big contribution the Moody Foundation is doing this in line with Lance. So their goal is to raise $1 million for these 28 charities, and it's just a really unique program. And you can just see the philanthropic efforts at High Five and Austin Marathon have thought this thing through.
Well, the entire sport, I mean, I haven't seen the last 1 year stats, but throughout the last 3 or 4 years, road racing in the United States has raised $1 billion annually for charities. I mean, the platform is just enormous that these races run for from Austin to any race you name. I mean, every 5K, every race that is run has a charity component to it, and it's part of what makes it easier to go into these city council meetings and get these roads open for these races every weekend. But that charity component does so much. The ripple effect of road racing in the United States, not just from these individual athletes that we see, the thousands upon thousands of people achieving something that maybe they had never even dreamt of when they were younger, but it extends on to to so many people who are benefited from these great events, and we salute them every one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we go look at a live shot of Joey Whelan, who is just past the 2-hour mark, and he has he's throwing down. I mean, he is flying. He's in 2:15 shape right now. I mean, he's in 2:15 pace. He has not slowed down at all. He is roughly at mile 24.
Look how aggressive look how aggressive that stride is. He is not showing any signs of tightening up.
So
I mean, he's in the flatter stretches of these final miles of this marathon. So if he's got this momentum going, the odds are he's going to be able to hold it. He takes another peek at his watch, but it's hard to do it psychologically on your own from such a long way out.
And he does train in San Antonio with Ryan Miller, who was 4th earlier today in the men's half marathon. So it is a very comfortable place.
So we are going to toss it down to our on-the-course personality, Liz Oberg, at mile 19.
Thanks, Lincoln. I'm down here at the mile marker 19 aid station. This one is hand to hold with the NCL, National Charity League. We recently saw the women's leaders pass us, and we're just seeing some people come in bits and pieces here. No big groups so far. It is a fun atmosphere. We have some chalk drawing on the ground with a lot of encouragement for the runners, and of course water being passed out along the way. It's a bit of a downhill here, which must be a nice break from these rollers, but it does continue to go up and down along the course.
He didn't say, when it's the other girl, he didn't say go back. But I thought y'all said it was the leader.
All right, thank you, Liz, down on the course, and getting a look at some aid stations here. We'll cut back to our men's leader, Joey Whelan.
Another shout out to the thousands of volunteers who also make these events happen every year.
Yeah, this whole course today is a party, right? Joey Whelan just ran 10 miles or so on the east side of the course, flying down Cesar Chavez, went by Flow Sports HQ. He had support along the whole way. Right now he's in a stretch where there's not as much happening, but as he gets closer and closer to the aid stations and closer and closer to each mile mark, those crowds start to get really rowdy and really excited. And you get so many people that are so proud and prideful of this course, going by their houses, going by their neighborhoods, exposing people in these racers to parts of Austin that really have not seen races until the marathon comes once a year. And so I've got a really good friend of mine at Castle Hill at the gym. His name is Gordy, and when I talked to him about the race this week, he said, "Oh my gosh, I'm about to have so much fun. I'm going to actually wake up in the morning and start grilling around 9 o'clock. So, and he's right around mile 24, 25. So maybe Joey will pass him and grab a burger. He's got about 3-minute lead on everybody right now.
Yeah, and that's a dead flat stretch. So if there's anyone coming, they'd be able to see the lead vehicle and Joey Whelan up ahead, but there is nobody. And once again, that's just dead flat. I mean, there's a strong hill at the very, very end, but right now he's just spinning those miles behind him. Now his turnover has decreased slightly, so he went from a 2:14 to a 2:15, but he's nowhere near, falling off the edge of the planet.
No, not at all. And Jamison Moore is strong. He's looking for him. He's a 2:15 guy, but he is 3 minutes and 50 seconds behind at 35K. So
yeah, and as well, having the last 2 months changing a place you've lived from 15 years, from Northern California to the mountains up in Mammoth Lakes when you have all that snow, and you can't train. You can't do your fartlek sessions where you want to on the streets that you want. You can't do the hills on the places you normally want. You have to so he's not probably as sharp as he was in 2:15 shape, just because of the nature of the winter in Mammoth Lakes right now.
Yep, absolutely. And as
24 miles we just see passing on one side of of the screen on the left-hand side of the split screen.
Yep, so he hit 24 and 204. So in 10 minutes, we're going to see a 215, 214, 215, 216 type range out of Joey Whalen. So he is, I mean, absolutely remarkable performance, right? He goes out with guys that are running the half, accomplished runners that are running the half, rolls with them for their entire segment of the race, right? Not 10 out of the 13 of their 13 miles, then ends up running this thing entirely solo. So you got to think, really hats off performance so far, what we've seen from Joey.
Well, the last time we had even a 2:16 here was 2015, and Bertram Keeter from Kenya ran 2:16.21. But then, once again, you got to go years back. Jonasil Basweti from Kenya ran 2:14.02 back in 2007.
Yep.
And then, but back then it was 2:14, 2:13, 2:12. That was back in the era when it was like those kind of times, 2:12, 2:12, 2:11, going back. But in recent years, it's been more of the 2:31, 2:32, 2:23, etc. So Joey Whalen is bringing it back into he's bringing the past back into the future here at the Austin Marathon.
Yeah, and he's doing it on a course that was not some of those fast times used to be a point-to-point net downhill course.
Exactly, completely different.
And then it was architected in such a way that it could be as close to the IAAF maximum downhill standard as humanly possible. Right? We saw one year where we had more Olympic trials qualifiers than any other race in the country.
Well, it just makes you wonder when the Boston Marathon doesn't qualify by IAAF standards. I mean, it's the granddaddy of them all. And my joke has always been that when Phidippides died after running from the plains of Marathon to the city of Athens to talk about overcoming the Persian invasion, if the IAAF was in charge then, they wouldn't have recognized his death because it was run on a point-to-point course.
Yeah, no
It's kind of a joke. The original marathon was point-to-point, but we don't count them today.
Right. And in third place, actually, in the men's marathon, who was off screen, we got a glimpse of him earlier. He was in a Navy singlet. His name is Will Christian. He is he's currently went to the University of Virginia, and after he graduated, he enlisted in the active Navy Reserves, and so he's not only is he defending our country, and thank you for your service, Mr. Will, but he is actually rolling a pretty good little marathon here. His PR is 219, and he is on pace right now to run in that 222, 221 range, pretty close to his PR.
Yeah, a PR effort certainly on this course.
Absolutely, and so just a fantastic story out of Will stepping up, coming down here for the race. It's his first race in Texas. We asked him what he looked most forward to in the city of Austin, and he said barbecue. And so absolutely really, really nice
so we can move to the women's marathon. We've got a third.
Looks like it is Liburg starting to catch back up to.
But also right
Mary
behind
Acor.
Liburg, we can find out who that runner is.
There's we have Heather Liburg, and we have who's in the second place, and we're trying to get a bib number on number 33 there, who looks to be a latecomer to this race, and it says we do not actually have a bib for 33.
Looks like 23.
Oh, 23, sorry. 23. We don't have a bib on 23 either. So it is we do not know who this runner is. We were informed early in the race that somebody did hop into the race.
If you hopped in a race, I don't think you'd have a bib on.
But so we don't know who this is, but we do see Heather Liburg, and we do see a person who has seemingly come out of nowhere, and we have no clue who it is. We did a bunch of interviews yesterday, well researched on the field, so to have a person we don't know and that's not appearing in our search over here is a little strange, but we'll kind of get to the bottom of that as this race develops. And Heather Liburg right behind Mary, but again, she's been running with her the whole time. There have been gaps of 50 meters, 40 meters, 20 meters, but it's really been they've been in contact the entire time.
Right, exactly. At least the psychological band is not snapped.
Right, and even though Mary's not eligible, she is actually helping out Heather in ways that are that we weren't able. That Heather probably didn't think she was going to have today. Right.
Right.
It's going to be a nice surprise for Heather when she if she actually gets to this finish line.
No, she probably has no idea that Mary Acor is not eligible for prize money.
Right.
And she thinks she's in second place. But Mary Acor is really showing signs of corruption in her form as well with that right arm pinwheel that she's got going. That's one of the first signs you see where that stride is starting to shorten and you're trying to use your arms like mad to try to get yourself back on a rhythm, but head's rolling all over the place. It's usually the very nuanced things that show you that someone's falling apart, but even though that Heather's head is tilting a little bit to the left. That's another sign you see. But she looks more in control than Mary does right now.
So we're on the men's side of things. We are within the last mile with Joey Whalen. He hit it at he hit 1 mile to go at 2:09.08. So if he can close really, really fast, possible still a sub 2:15 performance. Does have that big hill, which he's kind of starting to negotiate a bit at this juncture. But still, it's going to be a PR for Joey Whalen, regardless of if he breaks 2:15 or not. And there you see.
So we can talk about the last mile and a half here that he's got to go. He's actually about to go underneath I-35 bridge and take a right, go down 6th Street. He does have a big enough lead to stop for a beer, but he's not going to do that unless he really wants to.
And I should correct myself. It was the 40K split that he hit at 2:09.08. So no sub 2:15. My apologies there, but he is about in the next minute or so to hit a mile to go. So my mistake there.
Yeah, and so he'll hit a mile to go. He'll go down 6th Street. Again, has time for a beer, won't stop for one unless someone gives him a celebratory one.
If he's anywhere near that 2:16.30 from Duluth is a very fast course on a good weather day, and him running that time here in Austin is a sign that he's got a lot more time in the tank when he goes to another fast course.
Yeah, and the reports we've been getting and from people that have been running with him and training with him were that he's a totally different runner than he was this time last year, and that he's really a 2:12, 2:13 type guy on the right day, right course. And what we've heard from when I've been talking to William Dyson about Joey coming back and Jack, Joey was personally very honored and excited that Austin was the first place that led him into an elite field. So he really tried to honor that by coming back and defending that and also trying to put on a good performance. So just really, really good, a good guy, understands the sport, respects what they're trying to do here at the Austin Marathon, and to come back and show up in shape.
Well, a good symbiotic relationship between the event and the athlete.
Yeah, absolutely.
And both using one another to the best advantage for each.
Yeah, and he's got a great relationship with Nike and Stoughton Racing, so it's just an absolutely great story that we are getting a witness of stellar time from one of the up-and-coming stars of the marathon in the United States.
And he knows full well, because he's been looking at his watch the entire race. He knows full well where he is, what it means, how close he is to his PR. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun to hear his comments after the race with Drew.
Yeah, and he's going to have to push it a little bit to get his PR. About a mile to go. He's slowed significantly the last couple miles, no doubt hitting the wall.
You saw that rhythm. Not the wall, but it's certainly a veil.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of tissue between him and the open air. And he's pressing hard. His arms still look good. He's not falling apart. He's just, that inevitable. It's just the marathon's just too darn far.
Yeah. The body's saying, okay, let's wrap this up as soon as we can.
And the crowds are going to just really help him in this final push.
And as he kind of wraps around 6th Street here, he's got about, I'd say about 400 meters until he gets to that really big, the steeper hill. Yeah. And then once he gets to the top of that thing, it is flat, fast, downhill, all the way around the Capitol.
But when you're hurting, you don't want too much of a downhill.
Yeah.
Because you pound yourself into oblivion.
Yep, absolutely. And again, the Oscar Blues VIP tent with Tito's Vodka awaits him in about 10 minutes or so, and I think he's going to be the first person in there when he finishes.
It's amazing how the post-race, refueling, rehydrating has changed over the years. For decades and decades, of course, they served beef stew at the finish line of the Boston Marathon. That was the very famous. You got a little, bowl of beef stew in the garage at the Prudential Center in Boston after you finish the Boston Marathon, and boy, have times changed.
Wow, absolutely. And we see Anita Perez in second place in the women's half, and Jamison Mora still in second place in the men's half. But really, in the full. That was my mistake, in the full. But we really see Joey Whalen and Heather Lyberg. They are in a class of their own right now, just dominating the men's field and the women's field.
Yeah, Joey really came into this race as a new man. I mean, you would never guess that somebody who ran 2:31:37 last year is now, easily under 2:20.
And there's Cheer Up Charlie's in the background. They are one of the we talked early in the race about how these after parties have really started to pop up. So they're actually hosting an after party from 10 to 2 o'clock today, I believe, with Lululemon. And so that's Joey's rounding the corner here, and he's about to look up, and he knows exactly what hill he's about to have to conquer right here on Red River in 11th.
And it's hitting him, too. I mean, he's still moving, there's no doubt, but
he wants it over.
Yeah, no kidding.
And here he comes, the top of this hill. It's about 170 meters or so. It should take him about 30, 35 seconds to get to the top of this thing.
The Teacher Retirement Center, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect little metaphor.
Retirement says it all. Yeah, here he is. I mean, almost like psychologically. I mean, this is not new for him. He did it last year. I'm sure he saved something for this hill where he knows he's going to have to really, dig down and grind his way up there.
And there he is. He just looks so strong as he's finishing. And actually, we see kind of a development in the women's race, which is Heather Lyberg has just thrown the hammer down and trying to break Mary Acor, which, considering Mary's not actually in the race, is actually a great development because we would actually really love to see Heather cross the line first and really earn this for herself.
Yeah, but Mary was starting to show those signs where she was, really starting to physically fall apart. And she still is, whereas Heather still has that very, look at that. Even the way she takes water and dumps it on herself is very efficient.
So about 400 meters left to go for our man who's going to win for the second straight year, Joey Whalen. Doesn't look like he's just going to miss out on his PR, but I mean, if you handicap each course, this is the best effort of his career, no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this type of performance is the type of performance that is going to help him get into the elite fields of other major marathons, coupled with a pretty good PR that he already has, just the absolute respect that he has for Austin and how he treats race directors and media. This is the type of guy that you really want representing the sport.
And at the same time, it's one thing to run these times, another thing to win the race.
No.
And people always like to invite winners. No. I mean, because that's a great, that's a great marquee value. The two-time winner of the Austin Marathon. That says something.
And so we asked him before the race, we said, Joey, what workout did you know that you were ready to do this? And he said, did a 16-mile tempo under 5:06 pace. And so that's what you basically just saw on display here today, the fruits of those types of workouts that he's.
And if he had competition or somebody to run with for a much longer period of time, the odds are he could have run faster than he did today as well. But it's very, very difficult psychologically to be the only person out there by yourself. Here's that finish line banner. For the second year in a row, Joey Whalen's going to break it.
And man, he looks awesome. What a performance we just saw from Joey Whalen on the streets of Austin, Texas. A back-to-back champion. There he goes in 2:17 flat or so. And just barely off his PR, but an absolutely stellar performance of Leo Manzano down there. And when we get a minute, we will have Drew, our finish line personality. We will have him do a nice interview with Joey, and we'll talk about the how great of a course it was, and hopefully Joey will give us some insight on what 2:17 really felt like out there, because he was solo after mile 12.
Yeah, their thumbs up, a nice hug, and congratulations from our Olympic silver medalist, Leo Manzano, whose Manzano Mile kicked off competition here on Austin Marathon weekend.
And there's Jack Murray giving him a big high five, and Heather Lyberg has done what she's supposed to do. She has she's in the process of dropping Mary Acor. She's got about, I'd say, 15 to 18 minutes of running left, and she's got roughly about 3.5, 4 miles to go. So just cruising along here, putting the distance on, and really just using the flat section on E. Cesar Chavez here to come home. And she ran by Flow HQ just a little while ago.
And Joey Whalen looked pretty easy after that finish line. I thought he was struggling for a bit, but right when he crossed and about, like you said, 2:17, it looked like he was just no worse for the wear. So a nice effort for him, and again shows he's super fit. And who knows? Maybe somebody who could finish top 15 at the trials, something like that. I mean, this is an up-and-coming guy for sure.
And there's our lead athlete coordinator, William Dyson, trying to cue up Drew Butler, getting some good insights out of him.
Back to Heather Lyberg. She was 5th in the Los Angeles Marathon back in 2015. Finished 16th at the trials in L.A. in that very hot year of 2016. 6th again in 2017 in Los Angeles, and 9th last year. So, L.A., and again, it's got hills in the first half of the course and a nice even grade downhill in the latter stages. But she's run very well at another one of these major marathons, and also done very well at the California International Marathon in Sacramento over the years. So she comes into this race having run big-time races and done very well in and accorded herself very well. She's not somebody that has big ups and downs. Her PR, she's somebody who's just always dipping in under just 2 hours and 40. She's run as fast as 2 hours and 34 minutes, but that was back in 2014. So she's somebody who's just going to be solid as solid could be. I mean, if you're going to beat her, you're going to have to do that. She's not going to beat herself.
Absolutely. And there is Heather. She's taking some goose. She is, like I said, flying down the east side, the flattest part of the course, the fastest part of the course. And it's just a great, she looks awesome. She looks really good.
All right, so we are going to go down to the finish line with our men's champion. Once again, it's Joey Whalen. He's standing by with Drew Butler.
Second place for you. All right, I'm with men's marathon winner Joey Whalen. Joey, you live in Central Texas. This is your second win in a row here. What is it about the Austin Marathon that just works with your running style?
I don't know. I just love it. I don't know. It's like a home race. I don't know. Yeah. It's an hour away from me, so it makes sense. I like that. It's a difficult course. A year from now, the trials is going to be a difficult course, and that's what the focus is. I have the standards, so now it's taking risks and training and running hard on hard courses because it's not going to be an easy course in Atlanta.
You were out hard from the gun. Do you prefer to run solo like that, or would you have liked to have some competition today?
Competition is nice, but I mean, I do all my training alone, so it's no different. I wanted to take a stab at 214, so that's what I needed to do. And I thought it was a negative split course, and I thought I'd be able to handle it, but it was tough. There were some wind spots that when I was alone, when I didn't have the half guys, it made it a lot more difficult not having the half guys, but whatever. You live and learn.
So I read that you were recently bitten by a dog. Tell us that story, and did that affect you at all today?
Yeah, I was going to a Buffalo Sabres hockey game out in Dallas, and I was on a run out White Rock Park, and as I was running, a pit bull went after me and knocked me to the ground and took one big bite out of my foot and ankle, and then it just like clamped on like an alligator, and I had puncture wounds, so I had to get a couple stitches. I couldn't walk for 2 days. I thought I was going to have to pull out because it happened like 3 weeks ago. So, and then slowly I was able to just start running again, and then I did one last hard workout, and I was like, all right, I'm ready. It was just a big blow mentally because that training had been going so great, and then just to have it just go away so quickly. There's no guarantees.
So as well as you ran today, you have to take a lot of confidence away from this race. What are some of your plans in terms of next races as you lead into those Olympic trials next year?
Definitely gonna try to get more competition ones. So we'll do a spring marathon. We'll go run a fast course, try to be competitive, try to run a quick time, and then that's pretty much it.
Well, fantastic run today, Joey. Two-time champion Joey Whalen. Great job.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, so that was Drew Butler down on the course with our now two-time reigning champion, Joey Whalen. And Paris, we're going to, after we've had Mr. Whalen cross the finish line, we're going to take it back to yesterday where we had the Dole Manzano Mile. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we did. Leo Manzano, the race ambassador, and Dole, Matt, got together this year and decided, let's have some prize money. Let's have a road mile on Saturday of the expo, and let's make this a huge party. So Tony and I were out there yesterday, and a party it was. And let's show some footage from yesterday. It was actually a really good day.
Well, Liz, take me through the thing. I mean, obviously, Dana's defending champion, 4'11", 1,500-meter runner. Couple of turns on this course, so it's not very straightforward. How'd the race go? You didn't have the lead until the final stretch.
Yeah, it's obviously a little bit tougher of a course with the turns. I knew Dana was in it. She had won it last year, so kind of wanted to stay within striking distance of her, and I was able to do that, and then I was able to close pretty well. So,
is that something you've always had? I mean, you're coming from a tennis and a basketball background. That's explosive speed is required there. Is that something which you have transferred well to the road?
I think so. I think that's kind of helped me in my running a little bit, just kind of the explosive speed and also just kind of knowing how to handle competitive situations.
Well, congratulations. Where are you heading here from here?
I'm not sure what my next race will be. Probably something on the track, maybe Texas Relays.
All right, best of luck.
Thank
Congratulations.
You just finished the Manzano Mile in 4:09. How was that race for you?
It was fun. I mean, I just wanted to come here and, get the win, race to win. I haven't raced this year. I was supposed to race a couple weeks ago, and last minute thing got canceled. So I needed to get a good hard effort in and get a win in, and I did both, so I'm happy with it.
You ran the mile at UCLA with a PR of 3:56. How has your training been since then?
Yeah, so I ran 3:50. Well, I ran 3:39 for the 15 at UCLA, and then ran 3:56 the following year when I was in Portland with High Performance West. Since then, it's been good. I've lived in New Orleans for probably a year and a half now, and I train on my own there. It's been a blast. I definitely have enjoyed my time in New Orleans, training by myself, getting used to just a new type of training. It's a little bit different when you're just going out there and getting it done and putting in the work because you enjoy it and love it. But training's been going really well since then.
What is going to be your next race this season?
Yeah, so we kind of trained pretty hard this week. That had me a little nervous because next week we're trying to run a fast mile at BU in Boston at the Last Chance meet indoors. So I'm hoping to run a really good one, just get after it aggressively and have a good time next Sunday.
Matt Ingram with Dole here for Marathon Weekend and Manzano Mile today. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in the event here this weekend.
Well, the way I got involved in the event, it actually started a few years ago. I was fortunate enough to meet Nick Simmons, and we talked about sponsoring an 800-meter race, and he had already done one year, and we hooked up with him for the next couple of years, ultimately going into the Olympic trial year. And then I was fortunate enough to meet Leo, and I told him about what we had done with the Nick Simmons race, and he said, hey, I've got one, why not participate in it? And just being a fan, and this is kind of where the passion of what I like to do outside the office gets to meet what I like to do, what I do inside the office. So we were able to, we were fortunate enough to meet up with Leo and work with him here.
So you get to support something you love in the state you live. What's that like for you and for Dole?
Well, it's great because it's easy to get down here. Austin is a phenomenal running community. When you have a two-time Olympian that lives here and puts on, a middle distance race, there's not a lot of these 1 mile races, but there's some very iconic ones. You have the New York City, the Fifth Avenue Mile. You have the Magnificent Mile in Chicago. You have the Drake Mile, or the Blue Mile at the Drake Relays. And in Austin, what better place to have a 1 mile race? And so it's really neat to be able to participate in that.
Okay, so those were your highlights from yesterday's Dole Manzano Mile. And as we are back, you see the finish line, some half runners crossing the line, a lot of full marathon runners will start to pile in too. And we do have it with one of them. We have Drew Butler once again standing by with an athlete, this time with our men's marathon runner-up, Jamison Mora.
We've got Patrick Rizzo coming to us from Colorado Springs, Colorado.
All right, I'm here with Jamison Mora, who finished second today. Jamison, you talked yesterday about some recent years where you've had injuries and you just moved from San Luis Obispo to Mammoth Lakes. Tell us about the race today, and did it meet your expectations, and what you kind of thought about it?
Well, the course was brutal. It was rolling hills and some bigger than rolling hills pretty much the whole way, and it was tough. I felt pretty good, but the marathon can really beat you up in a lot of different ways, and today it was just my muscles and my legs were killing me early, mile 8, mile 9, but my body held together. Even though it didn't feel great, held together. I feel pretty good about that time. It was about 2:20. And on a course like this, I think that's a pretty good time. I'm happy with the finish. I'm really happy with how I felt. I felt strong in the final 6. I think I ran a negative split, so I'm overall happy with it.
So it sounds like you take away a little bit of confidence from this race. Where does this fall with the remainder of your year as you lead into the big Olympic trials race next year?
next we have me and my wife have a baby on the way due in May, so I'm going to probably keep it low key, not really take the racing too seriously, but try to stay consistent, try to stay healthy, spend more time with my family, and then look at a fall marathon. Not really sure which one yet, but fall marathon and then some cross-country races and then the trials. And I think that this course was good to give me some experience running over the rolling hills. I know the trials is going to be on some rolling hills. So I think this was good in the grand scheme of things, the overall plan.
So you talked yesterday a little bit about your children and the fact that they watch your races. What does it mean to you to be able to come out here and kind of set such a great example for them and be an athlete while still being a dad?
I hope it inspires them. I hope they're not feeling neglected like I'm, spending too much time away. But I think they're proud. I think when they see that I finish high in the race, they're pretty proud. They see an interview like this, and they see me they're probably watching this now. They're probably pretty stoked about that. My 5-year-old's probably disappointed that I got second. She always wants me to win, but I'm sure she'll understand.
Well, it was an awesome performance out of you today. We look forward to seeing what you do the rest of the year and leading into next year. So congratulations. We're with Jamison Mora, second place finisher.
Nice work, y'all. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen.
2 hours and 29.
All right, so significant developments here going on in the women's race, as Heather Lyberg, our kind of what would appear to be our runaway winner, starting to come up with an injury, either a major cramp of some sort, but she's in significant pain. Now, we thought for a moment she was going to drop out. She stopped, kind of rubbed her hamstring, or at least that's what it appeared to be. Now she's running again. Obviously, the pain's still there on the face. But, man, when this hits at this late in the stage of the game, that's tough. She's going to try to make it to the line, but we'll see if she can hang on.
I mean, it is rough. Once that body starts to go south on you, it's in charge, not you. And so now every foot strike is a nerve-wracking time. I mean, you look at her career in her 14 marathons, she's dropped out of 2. She was injured. She dropped out of the World Championships in Beijing back in 2015. And after qualifying with her PR in Twin Cities, and then she also dropped out another time at the New York City Marathon with an injury in 2017. But on the flat section of this course, all of a sudden that right hamstring went on her, and boy, she's just slowing down significantly. And the gap between second and third is really beginning to come apart. I mean, it is closing fast, because once the marathon gets a hold of you, it's not going to let go. It's got its teeth in her right now.
And this brings, again, we'll highlight, we've spoke on this several times here, but that brings Mary Acor, not officially a part of the elite field, but that does bring her back into contention here, as she can see her on the left side of the screen. Then when we have the split screen, now we're getting to look at Anita Perez, but Mary Acor in second place, is at least as far as what's physically going on here in this one. She's not a part of the elite field, but some significant developments here.
And the other storyline is that you have Anita Perez and Kristina Bohomikava from Ukraine, right? You have those two who are 3.5 and 4.5 minutes behind. And if Heather stops, massages this cramps, and all of a sudden that 3-minute lead now becomes 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, you have a real issue on your hands if you're Heather. But also, we want to see the women's marathon, the actual winner, win this race.
She's limping badly, really giving in. She's trying to favor that as much as she possibly can. I mean, the look of desperation is etched on her face. I mean, we talk about that final hill. A hill is your friend when you got a hamstring, because you don't have that eccentric contraction. You know, you're not contracting the muscle at the end of your initial foot strike. And anything downhill or flat is much worse than uphill. Uphill is your friend. But she is really favoring that right leg, trying not to get that cramp to come back.
And, at this stage, it's late enough where I would think, is going to be able to finish. But whether she can hold off Acor is another story, because she's coming fast. And this does put, as we mentioned, race organizers in a tough position, because Acor not officially in the field. So they're going to be hesitant to put the tape out there for her.
So you have to explain why the person that crosses the finish line first is not the person, getting the award.
Yeah. So it does put things – obviously it's not set in stone yet, but Acor looks much stronger at this juncture.
Yeah, she's come. I mean, the marathon's done its job on her as well, but she's not suffering nearly as much as Heather Lyberg is.
And there is about a mile to go, so it's actually going to be a little closer, but Mary Acor's catching up. But just for some perspective, that last 5K for Heather Lyberg, she went from running 6:08 pace to running 6:20 pace, but really that was all in the last.
And she's probably running
800.
7:30 pace now.
And Mary Acor is not running much faster though.
Yeah,
right. And you could see. And first of all, the look on camera is closer than it is on the street.
Yeah.
I mean the gap is shortening, but there's Heather's just got to keep going 1 foot in front of the other and hope that right leg just holds itself together just enough. But right now there's blood in the water, and Mary Airtor is smelling it. She's the shark at this particular point.
Yeah, this is what we were looking. We thought this was going to be the Heather Lyberg show, and now we have obviously this developing storyline, but a mile to go.
Well, it goes back to the old story. Don Cardong, the great Olympic marathoner and founder of the Bloomsday 12K in Spokane, Washington, said it to me years and years ago. The first opponent you've got is the marathon distance itself, not the other people with two legs running down the street.
Yeah.
And if you have to beat the distance first before you can ever beat the other people, because the marathon will get you. And it's in the process of trying to get her. Now, Mary Acor, you can see just taking that left-hand turn right now, and it could well be that she doesn't have anything left in the tank as well. And then also she saw Heather Lyberg stop in the street, and all of a sudden, she got all excited. And she had to push, and now the marathon's pushing back against her as well. So you got two people who are sort of dead in the water, but, it could well be that Heather Lyberg still can hold her off.
And there is one curveball here, which is our version of Heartbreak Hill. Right, we have that 180-meter odd-some hill on Red River in 11th with about 400 meters to go.
But again, that's not going to make your hamstring flare up. Uphill's not going to. It shortens it. You don't want to lengthen that muscle when it's in the cramping situation, because that's what'll start cramping it again. And once it starts, you can't stop it.
Yeah, and she's feeling it again. You can see her reaching for it, and obviously the face.
You're trying to. It's like the same thing when you're injured and you're trying to still do as much training as you possibly can, which just maintains the chronic nature of the injury.
Yeah.
Right here, you're just trying to not keep. You're trying to keep that cramp away.
And she's an elementary school teacher, and there's no doubt that her students are watching this right here, watching their teacher, and her kids and her husband are watching this right now. And this is a really good testament of what toughness really looks like.
This is a bad patch is not what this is. It's beyond a bad patch.
Yep.
This is a danger zone.
I think the gap is big enough at this point. You don't want to call it here, but the gap is it was at its shortest. I think it was about 3 or 4 seconds, and then there was a point where, like you said, Tony, the marathon started to press back a little bit. So Acor's trying to rally, and we know Lyberg's going through it all right now, but the gap is still maintaining.
It's almost like Heather's going to have to falter. That hamstring's going to have to go on her for Mary Acor. Mary Acor cannot downshift into there's no other gear she's got left. She's basically in the only gear she's got remaining, and she's probably slowing down from there as we begin this hill, this ascent, which could be helpful to Heather Lyberg, who looks like she's got a little bit better rhythm all of a sudden when she got on that uphill.
And she just went underneath I-35, the interstate, so she's now back into downtown. She's going to hit 6th Street. Unlike Joey, she probably does not want a beer right now. And she probably just wants to make this turn, get around the corner, go on Red River, up the hill, around the corner to the finish. So she's got one big hill left to tackle, and if she can just get up that thing smooth and not have Mary get any closer.
The gap is growing. The gap is growing once again, and the crowd is really going to start driving her home as well.
Yeah, and you just saw a fantastic cheer section on that corner. They know where they're at. They know how important that cheer section is to keeping runners active and positive. So hopefully Mary just got some life breathed into her just a little bit.
Yeah, so Heather looks at her watch constantly, knowing how much time do I still have left on these streets. And you just, it's such a tender thing where you're trying to get your foot down and maintain as much speed as you can without pressing down too hard, because pressing down too hard will just flare that cramp right back up.
And she's got about 800 meters to go for those of us watching at home. So
a little over 3 minutes at this pace.
Exactly. A little bit over 3 minutes
3.5.
at this pace. And just for the viewers at home to get some perspective, she does have that big hill to go up. It's 180 meters. It's going to take her about 40 seconds from the bottom to the top. She's going to go around the Capitol, and once she hits the Capitol, she's got 250-odd-some meters to go to finish.
One of the things you notice is she's not turning around to see where anyone's coming. She's not going to give that ammunition to Mary Acor in her distance either.
No, and that's very smart running. That she's not showing her poker face, and she is very locked in right now.
There's two types of turning around. One is just to feed the computer some information, see where I am, and there's no fear in that. But in situations like this, you turn around, you're giving ammunition to the person catching you because it looks like you're scared.
Yeah. We saw James Ngannou early in the half marathon.
Yeah,
Turn back 10 times,
no problem.
mainly just because he wanted to know how big his lead was.
Yeah, it's a no big deal thing. So when people say don't turn around, there's not universals.
Yeah, absolutely.
But right now, you don't want to turn around. Yeah, so Heather Leiberg's shuffle is even more shuffly. I mean, there's not a big, strong gait right here. She's just holding herself together. She's trying to use all the experience that she's got since when she first began in the marathon with a 2:39.55, 8th place at the Cal International back in December of 2013. That's where she began. Now, this is her 15th marathon, and here she is.
Here's the hill.
Here's the hill at the Teachers Retirement Association.
It does kind of look like, Tony, what you were talking about, the hill would be welcome. It almost does look like she's opening it up here a little bit on this stark uphill.
You do have, when you're going uphill, you do have a shortened stride.
Yeah.
And you go to your arms and you help to pull yourself up that hill with your arms. And look at that gap. The gap is bigger than it was 6-7 minutes ago.
It was down to about 4 or 5 seconds, and now you've probably got about 12 to 15 seconds. Maybe 15, maybe 20 seconds or so. And as long as Heather can get to the top of this hill in one piece, she should be able to hang on. But again, this was a very, very gritty performance from just an awesome story, right? You got a mom of 3, has a master's degree, lives in Montana, comes down to Austin, get a lot warmer weather here than in Montana right now.
The thing is, we've become so used to these East Africans out training the distance. It's no longer an endurance event for most of the world-class athletes. It's a speed event at distance, right? They're not thinking about, I'm not going to finish this race. It's how fast can I go from point A to point B. But this returns us to what the marathon was, a real test of endurance where the question is, can I finish the distance?
So we have Liz on the course who's going to give us an update on Leiberg.
We just saw Heather pass us in first place for the marathon. It's a very excited crowd down here. She didn't look in pain so much anymore. She has really broken ahead from the pack, so we're excited to see her finish.
All right, so Heather Leiberg about to turn the corner and finish off this win. It was precarious at certain moments all the way to this last mile, but that hamstring is held up just enough, even though you can tell she's still in significant discomfort.
Oh, that look on her face is the combination of it doesn't feel well, but I'm emotionally distraught as well. But you can see that wind coming off her left shoulder right now. She makes that final turn. It'll be directly at her back.
Yes.
It was at 2 hours and 29 minutes that Heather begins to have that cramp and actually came to a dead stop to massage that right hamstring. And she's been dealing with it for the last, 12 to 13 minutes. And at times of great desperation. It'll be really interesting to hear her comments after this race.
Yeah, and she may not walk for a couple days after this, but here she goes.
She will remember Austin, Texas, that's for sure.
Your 2019 Austin Marathon Women's Champion, Heather Leiberg, with one of the grittiest performances we've seen. And look at that. She is grabbing her hamstring.
Oh, yeah,
so much just happened over the last 2 hours and 42 minutes for her. She ran with Mary Acor, who she had no clue was even in the race, for effectively step-by-step of the entire thing until mile 25 and a half. She's hurting right now, but she did it.
She's fine with it now.
She won the race. She's about to just fall over probably and get a massage today, and maybe now's the time for her to kind of get off of that hamstring and sit down for a couple minutes.
Oh, it's a frightening moment when all of a sudden your body starts to rebel.
Yeah, I don't know if she wants to sit down right now because that hamstring may not wake
back
up.
Yeah. And
all right, so we will catch up with Anita Perez, our second place women's athlete. At least she's in that position now, and she's going to be navigating this last mile.
And when we do get a chance to get back to Heather, we will. We promise we'll give you guys an update to the best of our ability and a live interview. But again, Anita just kind of cruising down here. Again, she's going to hit the Red River Hill as well. Like we said, it's been taking about 40 seconds for these elite women to get from the bottom to the top of that thing. And, I mean, Anita looks really, really good.
She broke 2 hours and 40 minutes for the first time last year at the Grandma's Marathon in June in Duluth, Minnesota, running 2:39:33 for 11th place. Before that, she began with the 2:42 Cal International back in 2015, 2:43 at Grandma's, 2:44, 32nd place at the LA Olympic Trials, and then 2:44.04, 28th place in Chicago before her Grandma's breakthrough last June. So this is right in line with her previous marathons and on a tougher course. So I would say she's much more in line with that 2:39 that she ran in Duluth. I think she'll be happy with this performance.
And we asked Anita before the race started, give us a couple interesting facts about you. And so she's a big fan of Flatland Cavalry. It's a Texas country band. And so after this race and this nice prize purse hopefully she'll get some front row tickets to a Flatland Cavalry concert very, very soon.
So here comes Perez on the now famous finishing Austin Marathon Hill. So she's close. She can smell the finish line.
And she is a special education teacher at Eisenhower Middle School in San Antonio, coached by Gary Brimmer. And she wakes up every morning at 3:30 in the morning and gets a run out at 4 a.m. And there was a great article, again, written on her by Glass Staircase. And it's a very, very good story from Anita.
So we do have our women's Austin Marathon winner, tight hamstring and all. It's Heather Lyberg. She's standing by with Drew Butler at the finish line.
Big tears of happiness coming down their faces. Getting it done, getting up early, putting the work in. That's the deal. Get that work done.
I'm here with the female winner, Heather Lyberg of Helena, Montana. Heather, great win today. Tell us about what the race was like on the course. I know you had some competition early, but eventually pulled away.
I felt really good and really strong. I went into it with a bummed hamstring, so that was in the back of my mind the whole time, and so I was really worried, and it felt good until about mile 24, and then I pulled it, and I thought I was going to have to drop, but other than that, it was a fun race. I like the hills. I'm used to that from Montana, and I enjoyed it. It was fun.
On a course like today, where you've got a little more difficult terrain than some of your flatter courses, are you more focused on just competing with yourself and trying to get across the line than you are the time?
Yeah, for sure. Once I found out kind of the complexity of the course, my timing went out the window, and I just thought, I've ran hills a lot, and just kind of stay within my means and stay comfortable and relaxed and hopefully finish on top. And today I did somehow. Yeah.
So where does this fall within your racing schedule? What do you have on deck next, and how did this set you up for it?
I'm actually I'm running Grandma's Marathon in June, and then I'm supposed to run a 50-mile ultra in California in November or December. I don't know if I'll do that or not before the trials in 2020. So we'll see. Just kind of taking care of this hamstring and getting healthy because it's not good right now.
And finally, you're a mom. What does it mean for you to come out and be a good representation for your kids and be such a great example for them?
Oh, it's amazing. It's so nice to have my family behind me, and they really look up to me, and their support just means everything. So it's pretty awesome to have family back home and kids who cheer you on. So it's pretty awesome. And 24 students, because I'm a teacher. So lots of kids.
Doing it all. Well, Heather, congratulations on the win today. Great job. Get the hamstring rest up, and we'll look forward to seeing you in your next competition.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank
you. Here we go. We've got our second place woman across.
Okay, so that was our own Drew Butler with the women's Austin Marathon champion Heather Lyberg, who bravely and impressively made it to the finish line despite a pulled hamstring, which happened in the latter stages of the race. Thought for a second her lead was going to fall apart, but she held it together, got a nice time, 2:42.28, and a hard-fought win. And there on our screen, we see Anita Perez, who will be the official runner-up, as she just crossed in 2:47.57.
A very good race from Anita. I mean, she had the Will and Rory and Brian running with her at 2:45 pace, so it was a fantastic, really, really strong performance from Anita today. Just rolling with the guys at 2:45 pace, only running 2:47, falling off a little bit, but basically all the way down Cesar Chavez, she had them in their sights for sure on a nice flat part of the course. So intelligent running from her to use those guys to pull her along to a really, really good time.
But she didn't get quite close enough to see the damage that was going on in front of her with Heather Lyberg, and so from that standpoint, she never got in a position where she could try to up her game. I think she's just trying to survive the distance as well. But Heather had to use all the experience that she's developed over the years to maintain that victory. Because when the injury happens at 2 hours and 29 minutes and you've got another, essentially 2 miles of running left to do, and you're just scared to death. Not only that I'm going to fall apart, but everyone else is going to see this and they're just going to come after me, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing I could do to try to offset that.
And then that's what we saw with Mary Acorn. She did kind of sense blood there for a moment, but I think it cost her a few, several seconds, because she ended up almost a minute behind Lyberg, our winner. Impressions overall of the day so far, obviously thousands of runners still to finish at this point, but any takeaways that stand out as far as our winners?
Yeah, you got it. The best performance of the day undoubtedly was James Ngandu, showing up, running 64 minutes and change, entirely solo, looking back, having Tim Rackers go out with him, and then after mile 3, James just pushed the gas pedal down and looked around and said, whoa, there's nobody around here. And then Joey Whelan. I mean, how impressive is it to run with a 2:14 marathoner, a 29:52 10K runner in Alan Summerall, a 14:21 guy in Mike Lowe, and you run with them for the first 12 miles of their half. And then you've got the remainder of the race to run.
But he was leading them.
He was leading them, right, exactly. And so that is some gutsy running from Joey. We've seen it 2 years in a row, but this year particularly was an phenomenal performance.
Yeah, it's a brand new athlete. And Heather Lyberg, once again, showing the difficulty of the marathon distance itself and how challenging it really can be, even for athletes who are doing this at a professional level. And the fact that she could hold on the way that she did was a very, very impressive indeed. But it did go to show in a stark way how difficult this challenge is on the human body.
Absolutely. So we're still seeing athletes crossing the half marathon. We have about our top 5 on the women's side that have crossed. 4 athletes broke 250. We just had our 5th placer, Elizabeth Margigliano, 250.14. So still plenty of ladies left to cross here, and we'll continue to run our cameras again. But let's highlight our winners again. Joey Whelan, 2:17.0-ish.
2:17.04.
Heather Lyberg on the women's side. She picked up a 2:42.28 victory. James Ngandu, the recent college graduate, he got a 64.33 win in the half. And then Caroline Rotich, not even arguably, definitely the most accomplished athlete in this field or in this race period. She won the women's half marathon in 1:13.25 to set a new course record. So 4 very, very impressive runs.
Yeah, and it's awesome just to have the pedigree of the athletes that we've had today, right? Joey Whelan, who's well on his way to becoming one of the up-and-coming marathon distance stars in the U.S. Caroline Rotich, a former Boston champion, coming to the streets of Austin. That's one of the highest pedigree runners we've ever had here.
To prepare for the Boston Marathon. So I'll be back in Austin broadcasting that race, which means that the Austin Marathon, half marathon, will be mentioned in the Boston coverage as part of, it could easily become a traditional place for people to tune up for the Boston Marathon. I mean, next weekend I'm going to be in Tampa for the Gasparilla 15K, half marathon, 8K, 5K. They got 4 races on the weekend, but that's a dead flat course of their half marathon. The 15K is more the professional race for next weekend. But the half marathon used to be the big race in Tampa. Now it's the 15K, but that's not necessarily a great place to tune up for a marathon. So Austin could well be in a position where its future is a good place with a challenging course in in a perfect time frame to get ready for a big time spring marathon in Boston.
Yeah, especially when we see Caroline going down to Boston this year.
We'll see how she performs in Boston.
Exactly. Yeah,
if she does well there, that'll really elevate Austin as well.
And if this is any indication, today was pretty close to her PR, relatively speaking, given the course condition. It was one of the better performances she's had in a few years. So very, very good running with Caroline today.
All right, so that'll about do us for our coverage here in studio for the 2019 Austin Marathon. We will keep it on these finish lines. If you're watching for friends and family or anybody in particular, we'll still have that footage for you on the finish line. We'll also kind of have it around the other festivities. Our cameras will follow the beer garden and all sorts of fun post-race activities. I know you guys are going to take part in some of those. But, guys, any last thoughts from our third year and then the 28th overall Austin Marathon today?
I'm glad we're warm inside Flow headquarters rather than out on the street, although there's a charm to being out at the finish line as well. But I like this a lot better.
Yeah.
And a big shout out to the whole production team, Brad Gross, Liz, who we got to watch navigate traffic on one of our cameras today, and she was taking Ubers around town. Drew Butler for stepping up and being our finish line personality today. But Brad, Eric Helton, these guys have done a phenomenal job with the broadcast. I think Tony would agree this has been by far our best production we've done yet. And so just an absolutely good day in terms of the producing side. So thanks.
Good spending with you guys as well, as
Absolutely.
always.
Yeah, let's do it again next year. And obviously thanks to High Five Events. And again, like Parra said, everybody that took part in making this production happen, we'll run it back again in 2020. So for myself, Lincoln Shrike, Tony Revis, and Parra Shaw, I hope you enjoyed the coverage. And we are out. And you can enjoy the rest of the race here on Flow right now.